Hey folks on the internet, I hope you're all having a wonderful day and welcome to Spooky Saturday, a just chatting installment where I share scary stories and delightful conversation with my friends on Twitch. Whether you're here with us live or you're enjoying the VOD at your own leisure, I'm super excited that you're here. Today I'm joined by Happily Morose's Mistress of Misery, my brother Tygrezz. Um,
Hello.
if you have not already checked out their YouTube channel, um, or just their content in general, please do so. They are fantastic. Um, so Ty, how's your Saturday? How's it going?
It's actually going very well. I've been excited all day. Like, is it 3 yet? Is it 3 yet? Is it 3 yet? All day.
I too have been excited. This is episode 3. So far, a lot of people have been very pumped. I've been very pumped. Been having a great time. So I'm so excited, pumped. So I know you and Awesome Al do Happily Morose, which is that YouTube channel. You also do some other stuff. What sort of content and stuff do you create?
Yes, like you said, I do Happily Morose with Awesome Al. We have our own segments on the channel. I have Grave Reviews where I review horror books, movies, video games, anything horror related. Al has her own thing where she goes over history things, like weird things you may not have heard of before. And together we also do Are They Real, where we talk about cryptids and other spookums and discuss, okay, are they real? Are they not real? I usually take the stance of they're not real just because I'm very cynical, and I also like to just poke fun at Al because she's very easily excitable.
You do. You wind her up so much. I really enjoyed I think it was hers. It was the Hunks of History video.
Yes, the hidden hunks of history. She talked about Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, and Houdini.
Just just fantastic. I honestly was I'm so pumped. I know you guys it's a brand new venture getting everything out there. I'm super excited.
I'm
Oh, so
It's
we've
a
got
little hard sometimes, but oh yeah, we've got some people in the chats.
Hey, so we've got Mama Chibs, Jotun, and Tabby Meow. Hey, Tabby. Hey, Jotun. I already said hi to Mommy Chibs. Uh, so I'm super excited to do this whole thing. You've watched the show. You actually we talked about it as I was like coming up with the idea. Where I started to tell a scary story. And if you or I or both of us have any like question, concerns, interjections, we could just interrupt and just, flow of how a conversation would work if we were having a conversation over a coffee. And
I
then
mean,
you would,
that's usually how our conversations go anyway. It
that's
was just like,
true.
oh, interjection. Hey, I know you just said a thing. I have to say a thing about the thing you just said.
Before I forget, I have to say this thing. Yeah. So I think this is gonna be super good. While I've got people in the chat, how is the audio real quick? Just wanted to make sure. I know sometimes the music does its own thing. Just want to make sure because I had to adjust it already. No one responded. Cool. I know Twitch has
It's
a delay.
fine.
Twitch has a delay, so we're just gonna until someone tells me it's bad. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we're still
Music
working on
is
the music thing.
loud.
It's
That's
always the music.
it's always the music.
On, thank you, Tabby. I know our voices are just so sexy and beautiful.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's caffeine.
I was gonna say maybe it's auto-tune.
It is. No, I actually I'm not auto-tuned. This is just my regular old raspy ass voice. Years of smoking have done this to me, and it's fine.
Look, you can only get a nice, sexy voice like this with lots of training.
Like just fuck. Uh, but yeah, so you know how this will work. It sounds like that we're kind of good with this. So I've got some stories. I've got fan submitted story. Found some stories on the internet. Um, there is because I had some people proof stuff for me. Um, there is a risk that this actually could have been the script to the 1996 feature film Space Jam. That could be one of what's happening here. We'll find out. You ready?
I'm so ready.
Are you pumped? Are you excited? No.
Come on and slam.
Come on and slam. Come on and slam.
We're just slam.
Slam. How many times can we say it in one? No, I'm kidding. Okay, so I found this one. It's called I Played a Bootleg Copy of Minecraft, and there was something terribly wrong with it. Full disclosure, Ty, I picked this one because I know you and Al play a lot of Minecraft, and I was
No.
like, this is has to be a thing.
Okay,
Let's dive in. Let's dive
all right. Let's go.
in. I've been wanting to play Minecraft for months now. My friend Kenny knows this, and also knows I'm broke right now. So he very generously got me a copy. How he got it, I did not ask. So there I was on a Friday night opening my probably bootleg copy after a stressful week. The house was quiet. My boyfriend was out for the night with his buddies. I'd made myself a cup of chamomile tea and was curled up with a blanket, ready to play. I already knew the basic controls. I'd seen way too many videos on YouTube. Real quick, I'm just gonna. Isn't Minecraft like $10 or like 13 pounds?
Wait here. Let me double check super quick. But I think it's actually a little. If you want the Java, it's a little more expensive than that.
Oh.
Because I know like the Bedrock. There's two different versions. There's Java, which is the original and works a little differently. The Java is like roughly $27 US.
Oh. Okay. Didn't know that. I guess I've always, anytime I've ever done it was the other one because it was I always
Bedrock.
cheat.
Yeah, Bedrock's a
Yeah.
little cheaper, and you can also get that like through like Xbox. So
Yep, that makes sense because I've bought I personally have bought Minecraft on like several different like mediums and I've played maybe a total of like 15 hours over the course of the last decade because
oh,
I'm
don't worry,
awful.
we'll bring you into the fold.
You and Zombie have been talking about
Hey, Innocent's playing now too, so
that.
join us.
Join up one of us. No, let's get back to this. I spawned in a field with a few blocky trees. The square sun hovered over the hill in front of me. I started towards it, veering left and right, trying to get a feel for the terrain. Strangely, I didn't see any animals. No pigs, no goats, no chickens. But I didn't spend too long exploring. I was in survival mode, and I know you're supposed to make the most of that first day. Cut down some trees, get some coal and cobblestone, build a shelter to keep yourself safe at night. I wanted to build a cute little house in the field, but I ended up running out of time, so I dug a hole into the side of a hill. I stuck a torch on the wall, cut out a 1x1 for a window, and I called it a day. That's when things got weird. After a few minutes of nighttime, the mobs started spawning. But there weren't any of the normal ones, no zombies, skeleton archers, or creepers. There was only one mob, a villager like creature with grayish skin. The weirdest thing was their eyes. They weren't just a few pixels, they were detailed, circular and bloodshot, with no irises or pupils. And they let kids play this? I muttered to myself. Yeesh, my mom never would have let me play this. That's weird to me. I mean, my mom let me play Duke Nukem, so
Well, what's weird to me, and like because I read so many like creepy stuff, is the stereotypical they had circular, realistic eyes. Like, is that the spookiest thing you can think of?
also eyelids make them like almond shaped. I don't know. Just weird. I don't like I maybe it's like me dating myself, but like I've played a lot of scary, like, sure, like, they were pixely, like Wolfenstein, like, where you literally go through and just,
Mhm.
like, just straight up, like, murder people, but, like, the circular eyes, I get that. Kids shouldn't be exposed to that. Let me get back into here. Um, da 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 da. A few of them huddled around my window. Unlike zombies, they made no noise. All night I watched their grayish shoulders flit in and out of view as they bumped into each other, each trying to get a glimpse of me through my little window. There was something else weird, too. As far as I could tell, the sky had no stars or moon. It was just black, with nothing else. I hunkered down in my little hidey hole until the sun had risen. The creepy creatures were nowhere to be seen. Well, I said to myself, I think I'll try some mining today instead. I made myself a wooden pickaxe, then a stone one. I dug through the soil and rock deeper and deeper until I fell into a cave. It was dark. I grabbed one of my 7 torches and stuck it into the wall. Stone, coal, and some white colored stone. Cool, I muttered as I mined some of the coal. Then I went forward into the darkness, stuck another torch into the wall, and on until I ran out of torches. But aha, I had more coal now. I could quickly make some more torches and continue. The cave descended. The floor grew more steep, the steep downwards being the step downwards being 2 or sometimes even 3 blocks high. I continued though, knowing the deeper I was, the more likely I'd find diamonds. Not that I could even mine them with a stone pickaxe. That I knew from all of those videos. But this cave didn't seem very much like the ones I'd seen in the videos. I thought zombies and all sorts of scary mobs lived in the caves, and those ginormous spiders too, but I'd yet to see another living thing down here. The deeper I went, and then I did hear something eerie, a sort of deep whooshing sound. I looked all around looking for the source, but all I saw were my own torches climbing up into the cave above me. I continued farther into the cave and further. It was weird. I thought at some point you'd hit lava or bedrock, and that you wouldn't be able to go any farther down. But this cave seemed to go down and down and down with no signs of stopping. No signs of diamonds either. I stopped on a small stone landing before the cave continued even more steeply down. I got out my pickaxe. Seems like a good place as any, I said as I dug the pickaxe into the rock. I'd seen the videos on diamond mining, on the optimal spacing of tunnels, and all of that. Who knows? Maybe I'd get lucky and find some iron along the way. For some reason, the only ore I'd seen yet was coal. So I'm all for, this is me personally, like out of story. I am all for like getting tips and tricks. Um, but if this is their first like foray into Minecraft, that seems like a lot of meta like prep before you go in. Is that how people
Um,
do it?
some people like to just go in and feel the feel. I personally, I'm the type of person when it comes to things like Minecraft. I like to know things ahead of time. I'm not a big experimenter, so like all the potions and stuff you can make, I see nothing wrong with like looking up videos of like, okay, how do I make, a water breathing potion or a weakness potion, things like that, because you can like just keep throwing things in and figuring it out slowly, but I don't have the patience for that. And I feel as long as you're still making it from scratch, you're going out, you're collecting the items and you're bringing them back. It's okay to have the knowledge ahead of time.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
Well, that's just how I play. Some people, like I said, like to just go in and figure things out. Some people are just builders. Some people are redstoner. Some people just like to mine. It's a very open world, so you can play however you really want to play.
Sandboxy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd watch the cracks appear on the stone block. Stupid stone pickaxe, I muttered. It finally broke, and then I started on the next one. I only got several blocks in before, clink, my pickaxe broke. Damn it, I said to myself, heaving a sigh. I turned around to make a crafting block and froze. There, at the entrance of my tunnel, stood one of the gray creatures. It stared at me with those white, bloodshot eyes, so perfectly detailed compared to the rest of its pixelated body. I didn't move, didn't advance towards me. I just stood there frozen. It was watching me. You little fucker. I switched to the stone sword, started running towards it, and then I froze again because something caught my eye. Not something in the game, something here, in real life. Oh no, no, no. A little white light next to my webcam was on. I snapped my laptop shut, slid it onto the floor, and then I sat there panting, my entire body numb. With shaking hands, I picked up my phone and I sent a text. Kenny, where exactly did you get this copy of Minecraft for me? And that's how the story ends. This was posted on the subreddit No Sleep 11 days ago by user Robert Mort. I think that was a pretty cute one. I liked it.
It wasn't bad, especially if it's one of his like first forays into horror and like video game creepypasta. It's not bad. I've definitely heard much worse.
It was honestly, it was hit or miss for me up until the very end. Was like the webcam's been on. How long was it on? Nobody knows. Whew.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna sound like such a bitchy snob coming saying this, but because I read and watch a lot of horror things and listen to a lot of creepy pastas, you kind of learn the tropes and the stereotypical things that people write. And again, when people first start out, of course they're gonna write what they've read and what they know. So like the stereotypical like, oh, it's a video game, but they had realistic eyes and they were
Yeah,
bloodshot.
modeling.
Yeah, like I understand you're writing what you know, what you find creepy. But I'm a type of person who's like, this has been done so much. Like, please give me something original, just like a different take on it. And I feel like I come across a little harsher on things because of that.
Because of the hypocrite. I get that. I am the kind of person who has tape over my webcam right now because I'm paranoid that like it's gonna happen. The government, who knows? Just me with my paranoia. I can't. Whew. But yeah, so I think that was a good one.
Yeah, it
It
was
was a quick
decent.
little it was a quick little whew, spook 'em. Wasn't any like really scary things, just people being scary.
Yeah, the little webcam thing, like that is a creepy thing. Like anybody could watch you because they're so easy to hack actually. And there's so many stories of like ring cams, like, those things you put like cameras you put in your house for safety reasons, like people hacking into that and like talking to your children. And it's like, no, thank
That's
you.
incredibly unsettling, and I am not a fan of that. I no, no thank you. No thank you. Um I mean also a mine this is just like the little time I spent playing Minecraft was very like I kind of fell down a hole a little bit and I was very like focused, hyper focused on being a little Minecraft boy. So I can totally like how long was the webcam on before they
Mhm.
noticed it, you know? Like, cause that's the first thought I would like. How long was that there? Just
Yeah, no, I totally understand like just being focused and you're like in the zone and then like,
oh, somebody's
hi.
just been watching me like drinking tea and building stuff. Cool, very exciting. Not very exciting at all. Whew.
I mean, I don't like right now it's winter. And I'm kind of glad I live up north where we put plastic over our windows because the light still comes in, but you can't really see through the window. And I like that because I don't want people to see like inside my house.
That's fair. I live up on like a crazy like hill. So if anyone wants to see in my window, they literally have to climb up the hill to get
You have
on
to
level
work
with the
for it.
window. And like, go on, look in my house, do it. That's your own fault. You should like you shouldn't do it. Like it's probably not a good idea, but like feel free. If that's how you want to live your life, go for it.
Live your best life.
You do you. But yeah, that's that story. Do you have one you want to share?
I do. I actually have a story based on an actual experience that I had. Um,
Yes, I
I've
love these.
I've shared this story with you before, but I figured I would write it down so it's actually in like story form so I don't miss anything. Um, and it actually helped me like review and go over what happened because like it happened like 7 years ago. And like it kind of like reopened that for me. So now like I'm a little scared of my own house again, but it's fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about
It's fine.
it.
So if you're all right, I guess I'll just dive on into
Yeah, just
it.
do it.
So I titled this The Nope.
Absolutely.
Is that you know why?
Immediately.
All right. I'm unsure as to why we looked out the back window. It could have just been a random glance that led to actually looking. My boyfriend Kyle was the one to point it out. It was the middle of winter, so the snow made the tracks extremely visible. The tracks led from the back window, up the hill, and out of sight. I thought they belonged to a rabbit at first. Each track was long and thin, similar to what one would think of when thinking of a rabbit's back foot. However, the longer I looked, the more I realized they couldn't be rabbit tracks. First of all, there was only the long track, no small print to indicate the rabbit's front feet. Second, the snow was deep. If it had been a rabbit, we would have been able to see the indentation of its body as well as its feet. It didn't take long for Kyle to want to go out and investigate. At that point, I thought nothing of it. We bundled up, walked out the front door, and around the backyard. We didn't go out the back door because it had plastic covering it to keep the cold wind out. Living in an older house sometimes has its perks and sometimes does not. If you've ever spent a winter in New England, you would know just how cold it can get. With the prices of fuel on the rise, you do whatever you can to save money. We went out and we studied the prints and followed them over the small hill. Looking back now, I should have been more creeped out long before the nagging feeling started. The footprints started at my back window. There were none leading up to the window from any direction. Despite how creepy that thought is, the prints only got worse. As we followed them, the feet started to drift apart. They V'd as if they had gotten into an argument and could stand no longer to be near each other.
That's cute. I love how you said that.
At first, it was weird, but they kept getting further and further apart until the right print went into a small copse of trees, and the left got lost in the thicker woods to the west of my house. Without hesitation, Kyle went to the woods, but I stopped him from going in. He's fearless and recklessly stupid sometimes.
Absolutely.
Oh, he totally is. Like, the stereotypical white guy going into houses, like, I'm not scared, that's him. His lack of fear tends to lead him to trying different things that others would find extreme. He just wants to be scared, just once. At least that's what he tells me. It's all I can do to make sure he doesn't try any rituals that he finds on the internet. Rituals such as playing hide and seek alone or the midnight game.
What's the midnight game?
And countless times that he's not allowed. So the midnight game is, if I remember correctly, he made me listen to it so long ago. It was basically you're in the house by yourself. I believe you start it at midnight. You light a candle and you basically invite this entity into your house.
That's stupid. Why the
And because just people are stupid and you're trying to outrun it basically. You also have to keep your candle lit. If your candle goes out at any moment, you immediately have to surround yourself with salt. And you have to stay like you either have to keep the candle lit. You either have to keep the candle lit until 3 a.m. or if it goes out, circle yourself with salt and stay inside that salt circle until 3 a.m.
what?
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
that's incredibly just
mhm,
it's dumb on so many levels.
mhm. There's so many different games that are, quote unquote
Quote
games.
unquote games.
That he's like, "Yo, I want to try this." And I'm like, "You are not.
None in this
You are
house.
not bringing that shit into my house." Like I might be a skeptic and a cynic, but I ain't taking no chances.
I am
Like
not the one. Today is not today. This is not the house.
as much as I love the aesthetic of a Ouija board, I can't even let one be in the house because he'd be too tempted to use it.
He absolutely would.
You know, so you know him. You know he
He
would.
absolutely would. He would be that one that's like, I'm gonna play it by myself in a church
Mhm.
at night on Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Mhm.
Demon.
Demon. See, that's the thing. He would get along with Shane so much. Well, Demon.
Gmod. Oh man. I'm sorry,
Sorry.
because you said
No, no, it's fine. It's similar to like, did you hear about the what was the woman's name? Was it Elise? The one that was found dead on top of that hotel building, like inside the water tank. And the last video evidence they had of her was on an elevator.
Oh yeah.
And she was doing a weird thing. And they're like, what is she doing? The creepy thing is when I watched the video, I knew exactly what she was doing. There is a ritual or game that you can do on an elevator and it brings you to like a different plane.
Oh, so like planal shifting.
Yes. And that's another thing I've told Kyle no. No.
Eliza Lamb. Thank
That's
you,
what it
Mama
was.
Chips. Thank you.
Yes. You a G.
You a real G.
But yeah, see, like there's different things and I've told him no. But all right. I've told him countless times that he is not allowed to invite those kinds of things into the house. We walked to the edge of the woods, peering in to see if anything seemed suspicious. They were empty. However, that feeling of fear, that little nagging that tugs at the back of your neck to warn you that danger is near, began to burrow into me. It was cold and the sun was starting to set. I encouraged Kyle to return inside. At that point, I thought that was the end of it. Some weird footprints in my backyard to tell my friends about. The whole encounter had put Kyle in a mood to get scared. He turned off all the lights. The only thing illuminating the living room was the TV. It wasn't much light since the videos themselves were dark. They were all evidence for real-life ghosts. They were the kind of videos that Kyle and I like to pick apart. People make up stories of the supernatural all the time. Shows such as Ghost Adventures help that trend. I believe there are things out there, things we don't always have an explanation for, but you cannot convince me that people in these kinds of shows encounter ghosts, and often violent ones, consistently. Not to mention, what I've learned from my high school psychology class could debunk most, if not all, of the episodes. Several of the YouTube videos we'd already seen. It's hard to find a new ghost video when you spend a lot of time trying to get scared.
Question: is Ghost
Yes.
Adventures the one with that piece of shit Zach Bagans?
I believe so. Just a second.
Because I had someone who like made me watch. They didn't make me. They were like, "You should. This is
Yes.
ridiculous." Okay,
Yes.
cool. I just needed that like frame of reference.
Yeah, that's the one where I was watching one time just for ha-has. And this guy had a pentacle. I'm expressing it is a pentacle tattooed on his back. And I say that because they're like, oh my god, dude, you got scratched and it's leading to your pentagram tattoo. I'm like, dude, that is not a pentagram. That is a pentacle. There is a difference.
There's a difference.
And I was like, really?
So on brand. So on brand.
We
literally could do a whole. I personally could do a whole segment on where, you know what, we'll put a pin in that. Brain. I'll do. Brain is.
Oh my god, we should totally watch an episode and break it down. Anyway.
Yes.
All right. Less than 2 hours later, there was meowing at the back door. A quick peek out the back door window showed my cat Galaxy. For some reason, he had decided that he wanted to come in through the back door despite being let outside from the front. I sighed and tried calling him from the front door. He wasn't coming. Kyle stayed by the back door, keeping the cat's attention so he wouldn't run off by the time I was able to get to him. I continued to call, but the cat wouldn't budge. I didn't want to go outside. It was dark and cold, but I had to grab the cat. I couldn't undo the plastic over the back door. It was on there tight, and if I undid it, there was almost certainly going to be a draft for the rest of the winter. I'm well aware of how silly it sounds. My logic isn't always comprehensible to others. I still baffle Kyle to this day. With great resignation, I pulled on my tall boots and shrugged on my coat. Kyle continued to talk to the cat through the back door. I thunked down the front steps, turning on the flashlight on my phone. Stomping through the snow, I continued to call for Galaxy. I yelled his name, made the typical cat calling sounds. Nothing. The more steps I took, the more the fear I had felt earlier crept up. I stopped when I got to the corner of my house, the corner that was right next to the woods. About 2 yards from the house was a small shed, and immediately behind the shed were the trees. At night, with no moon, the woods were pure darkness, impossible to see into. You know that sixth sense that people talk about? The one that senses things we can't see or feel? Mine was screaming that night. I couldn't make myself turn the corner or take my eyes off the woods. I just knew that if I turned my back on those woods, that something would come up behind me and that would be the end. I stood there for only a few moments, but while I was frozen with fear, it felt like several minutes. I gathered enough composure to call out for Galaxy one more time. Galaxy, I called more softly than I had before, almost as if I was scared that something other than my cat would hear me. I made the cat noise again. I received an answer from the woods. Fear flooded my veins, and I ran back into the house. I didn't answer Kyle right away when he asked me what was wrong. I shucked off my coat and shoes and darted to the back door. I didn't care about the plastic anymore. I wanted my cat inside, safe with me. Once Galaxy was inside, and the plastic was back in place as best it could be, I answered Kyle's questions. He knew something was wrong when he heard me crashing through the snow, thumping on the porch, and slamming the front door shut. I told him what I had heard, what I had felt. He never doubted me. Not because he's a believer in the supernatural. He's a man of science and things he can feel and touch. But because he knows me. He knew I was telling the truth when I told him that it was not an echo that I heard. I explained the sound I had made. It was soft and almost quiet. The sound I had heard, the sound that came from the woods, the sound that was directed at me, was sharp and clear. It took me a while to pass out that night, but eventually the fear dissipated. Although even to this day, I can still not be outside by myself at night without eyeing the woods. A while after all this, I can't recall if it was months or a year, Kyle came across similar prints that we had seen in our backyard while scrolling through a forum. They were long and thin and separated like the ones that we had seen. Only these prints were seen out in the Midwest, thousands of miles away from where we live. I was vaguely creeped out again, but I had mostly moved on. It wasn't until recently that I learned what I had encountered. I was recounting the story to my friend when she told me it was a nope. She called it a nope because by calling its name, it would get its attention. And I had definitely already had enough of its attention. But I'll spell the name out for you. SKINWALKER. That's the end.
Ooh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. I love that because I know when you originally told me this story, I was like, why would I don't even? Whew, so much right there. That was very eloquently put. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that. That was, whew, spookums.
Yeah, it was definitely a creepy experience, and that was like one of the very first scary things I've ever like encountered, and had that like I said, when I came to that corner, I couldn't explain it other than if I walk around this corner, something is gonna be come up behind me. Like I was so certain.
You're like, I know I'm a snack, but please don't
Yeah.
eat me. Uh,
And I did try to tell myself, I'm like, it's just fear. You can just do it. Don't be scared of the dark. You don't be such a little bitch. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call for the cat. Maybe he'll come around the corner himself. And like I said, I heard it from the woods. It wasn't an echo. Like it made a different sound back at me.
yeah, and given the area you live in and the time of year this took place,
Mm-hmm.
there's no reasonable animal sound that could have that if for that region for that time that would make logical sense. It wouldn't be like oh, I saw a hoof print and I thought it was a zebra. It's like that there isn't
Yeah.
anything out there that it would make that sound in that time of year in that region. Because sometimes animals be making weird ass sounds. I fully acknowledge that.
Yeah. It just, like I said, it did not sound like any animal. I've been hunting with my dad. Like I know animal sounds, and that's not
Super creepy. Oof,
super creepy.
oof, oof. For our friends overseas who's like nighttime, they're probably like Tabby's probably like, why are you telling me this right before I'm getting ready to go to bed?
I hope you weren't planning on sleeping.
No, no sleep. Only scared. Okay. So I have another internet story that I found. This is pretty some type of way. That's Mama Chimps. We don't play with the pale pedestrians. Full on with our cats. Oh my goodness. This
Oh,
is
I
fun.
wrote cats instead of cars. I'm such a dumbass.
Canon
But that
now.
too.
That's why
We
she
just hit
opened the
them with the
back door really to grab the cat, eat it.
cat.
Listen, I am the man at typos. Like always. It is me. I will always misspell something. And be like, no, I'm like, and my spelling stuff always undermines, like, wow, this is a really eloquent point, but like, that is not how you spell, especially. Damn it.
Okay, I will give it to you, especially sometimes it's hard to spell. Sometimes even I have to be like, especially.
Or like, separately, definitely.
Yes, awesome, Al. Like Freya's chariot.
Yes. Wednesday, exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Chat gets it.
You understood the assignment.
We all understand what's going on here. Again, thank you for sharing that. I know that's a personal thing and that's super cool and I love it.
Thank you.
Actually, no, because this is a theme thing, so let me do. Instead of going to that one, we're gonna do an adventure. Um,
So I'm actually tempted to post the story on like No Sleep or something.
you could probably do that. The internet is a beautiful place. A cat with sunglasses. Thank you, Al. That's actually one of my favorite emotes is the little cat. Okay, so I actually have a story that Mama Chibs sent in.
Ooh.
And this is a personal one. And actually also this was also it looks like this story was also shared with a podcast in 2017 that aired this as well. So that's exciting. Okay, so I live in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains.
Well,
Appalachia.
there's your problem right there.
Scary shit. Northwestern North Carolina to be precise. Around here, we don't have what others call ghosts, and the only spirit found here is in the good moonshine. We do, however, have haints. Specifically, we have Haint Holler. No one really knows what happened to make it Haint Holler so haunted, or what these haints are. We only know how the place got its name. It's full of them. Where I went to high school, it's considered a rite of passage to spend graduation night camping in the Hollow. The problem is, no one ever makes it a full night. And that's where my story begins. A group of my friends and I were sat around a campfire, roasting marshmallows and telling stories we'd all heard of the very place we were camping in. Mama Chibs, I love you so much. Why would you? That's you don't ever like it's like, of course there's not a killer in the house. Because did you hear the story about that killer that's totally not in our house, but
This sounds like some small town shit, Mama.
peer pressure. Peer pressure, absolutely. I feel you. High schoolers are like that. That's fair. Okay. It really is, yes. Time. Sorry, I lost my place in reading because I'm just super cool like that. Stand by. Our night was soon coming to an end, and the fire was dying, and the marshmallows were nearly gone. It was time to draw straws for who would be the last one to put out the fire after everyone else had tucked safely into their tents.
Not dog.
I drew the short straw.
Oh, Mama, no.
My best friend offered to take my place, but the others insisted rules were rules, so everyone made their way into their tents and left me alone with buckets of water and sand. Once the sound of the last zipper stopped, I took a deep breath and I looked to the fire and then my tent. Only 10 steps away. I can do this, I told myself. It's not like the Haints will be on me that fast. How wrong was I? I poured the water over the fire and then covered the embers in sand, quickly making sure every sign of the heat was gone. Then I looked up. There was no moon that night, only the stars framed by the circle of trees. As much as I wanted to dart for my tent, it was so dark I couldn't remember which direction that was, and I had to wait until my eyes adjusted. Then I heard the first noise, twigs crackling. It's just a raccoon, I told myself, but I knew better. Then, a brush against my hair and shoulders. This was definitely not an animal. It became suddenly freezing cold, highly unusual for our hot, sticky summer nights. Can confirm, North Carolina in the summer is gross. All the whole thing. It's hot and sticky. Finally, the last part of the legend: the voices and the eyes. The voices came first, beckoning me in every direction, telling me to leave the holler to enter the woods around me. Nope, 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 nope. We do not.
It's a big
No,
old
thank
no
you.
for me, dog.
Like, no, I didn't hear that. I'm just living my life. No, thank you. As my eyes were finally adjusted to the dark, I saw glowing red and gold eyes fill the darkness of the woods. I was afraid to move. The cold was around me, and I knew any step I would take would put me in their icy grasp. I opened my mouth to scream for my friends, but no sound came. Suddenly, a rushing wind blew right through me, knocking the breath out of me and making me fall to the ground. When I lifted my head, I heard the laughter. Hundreds of voices all laughing. I tried to get up, but I was hit by another gust of wind, and then another, over and over until I finally gave up and decided to let them take me. That's an absolute mood. Um, I could feel the cold moving, closing in on me when a flickering light in a tent, my best friend's tent. I heard the zipper start to unzip, and I wanted to call out to her to stay inside. She's unzipping the opening long enough, just enough to shine her flashlight through. It was one of those big spotlights. We both heard unearthly screaming that neither of us had ever heard before or since. She shined her light on me, and I saw what looked like shadows wriggling away into the darkness. The cold left me, and she came and helped me up before waking the rest of our group up to get out of there. Everyone brought out their flashlights, and once the area was lit, we all saw for ourselves. The entire site had been completely trashed. It was like a tornado had hit, but only within the circle where I had been. We packed our things and practically ran back to our cars out by the road, and like so many before us, we all vowed to never go back camping in Haint Holler. And then there's an emoji of a bunny rabbit. That's the end of the story.
That's pretty creepy, mama. My first question to you, and I'm not trying to be mean, but like, why didn't you have a flashlight when you were putting out the fire? That seems prudent. I get you were high school and high schoolers are dumb. Trust me, I remember being dumb.
Well, I know, like, if you're 10 feet away from, I feel, and this is me as just as a me person, me, this individual speaking. Hello. Um, I'm not under caffeinated. No, so I get like, okay, so I'm right close to the tent. I'm putting out a fire. I'm gonna go. I don't need a flashlight. That's how I was like, I don't need a flashlight. It's right there.
Ah, one of the rules. Okay, that makes more sense. See, but see,
Oh.
me as a person, I don't even go through my house without at least one light on. And as I'm turning off the lights to go to my bedroom, if my bedroom door is closed and I can't really see, as I turn off the kitchen light, I will turn on the flashlight of my phone, even though it's like not even 5 feet from me,
See,
because I don't
I
trust
just
shit.
be stumbling around my house in the dark, like whatever.
Yeah, no,
I always keep the door to where the steps are closed, so
you don't fall down 'em.
I don't fall down the stairs. It only takes like falling down the stairs like 5 or 6 times before like that becomes a thing that you're like, you know what, stairs. Not about that. Not even gonna go over there. Just gonna
Stairs, not even once.
stairs. Not even once. No. Honestly, I actually have fallen down the not here. Here I've never fallen down the stairs, but up north I fell down a flight of stairs backwards
Mm.
because my Brita filter had broken. So I had bought a bunch of like bottled water because it was like St. J water, which was like
Oh, yeah,
super
don't drink that.
chlorinated and like fucked up. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I bought a bunch of water. I made it to the top of the stairs. I didn't know it was in the winter. And I guess that afternoon or that morning while I was out doing my business and I hadn't been home for like 13 hours, my landlord had decided to shellac the inside of like the inside stairwell.
Oh,
So
no.
it had finally set, but it was like that cold shellac. It had finished, but it was very slick.
Mhm.
So I got to the top. I'm like holding a bunch of stuff, like water, like containers in my hand, trying to like do the key with one hand because I'm not going to set anything down. Why would I do
Right,
that? It's in my
exactly,
arm.
that
Like I've already come this far. I'm not doing all that. And then I slipped and I fell back and I went down the whole flight. And I don't know how I didn't break my neck, to be real with you. No idea. But yeah, see, I deliberately get used to the dark in my house because it's a tool to my advantage in case I need to fight or flight. That's you're merely adopted by the darkness. I love this. Oh, but thank you, Mama Chib, for submitting that story. It was spooky. I feel spooked by it.
Oh, I
I'm
definitely feel
never
spooked
going to
by it.
investigate, investigate Paint Taller. I don't know where it is. I'm not gonna go finding it because I am not about that. But thank you for sharing. That was beautiful. That was a real story. Real story.
Yeah, like I
Ooh.
said, that's definitely some small town shit, like, "Ooh, we're gonna go test the ghost."
Oh well, I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff like locally stuff. Like up in Stowe, Emily's Bridge.
Oh, yeah, mhm.
Actually, real quick, I'm gonna sidetrack. I have to tell this story. This is a personal. This happened for real.
You expect her to remember, mama.
We've literally driven by it. I don't. First off, I think everyone like I don't know where that is. Wait. Yep, you did point it out. I remember that. You did. You did. Yes. Okay. I feel like that's right. Yeah. Okay. Let me just circle back to that other thought I had. So, Emily's Bridge. In
Mhm.
Stowe, Vermont, there is a covered bridge. Fun fact for any viewers who are not from Vermont. Vermont has like the most covered bridges of like any state in the United States. I'm like 95% certain that's still a statistic. That's still a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google
Um,
that right now just
please,
to make
please
sure.
fact check me. If I'm wrong, just slam me down with that. Slam. Long bottom. Yes. But so
I'm getting a
Yeah,
list.
Emily's Bridge is this covered bridge on like this road off the main road down towards like a farming area, like a couple farms in that area. And I went to college kind of close to Stowe, and a lot of people were talking about, "Oh, Emily's Bridge is haunted."
Mhm.
Because the story goes like way back in whatever time. This girl and this man were in love or something, and they couldn't be together. So she was gonna run away with this man, and they were supposed to meet on Emily's Bridge at night on this bridge, which was not called Emily's Bridge up until
Emily's Bridge at the time, but
yeah, it was
yes.
like they weren't like this is actually it was a different Emily. You're just here. No, it was her name was Emily. Um, so she goes to meet this man, but he's not there, and she waits for hours and hours, and so destitute is she when he doesn't show up that she unalives herself. There's a lot of different stories on like the particulars of it. In a lot of stories, she was in a wedding dress. In a lot of stories, she was in a red dress or a red overcoat. Um, in some of those stories, she has a horse wagon that she veers off of the bridge into the river below. Which is a dick thing to do to horses, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
those poor
like,
horses.
red flag number one. We'll run away together. Exactly. Um, in other stories, she hangs herself from the rafters. And then there's like where she jumps to her. There's a lot of things.
One of those stereotypical local legends where nobody really agrees on what happened.
And, actually, that concept, that specific story, I don't know if it was particularly this story or because there are so many stories like this around the world that Tim Burton took a story like this and turned it into The Corpse Bride, kind of,
Mhm.
a little bit, based it. Yeah. But I mean, there's no way this is the only place this has ever happened. But I digress. So this local story, it's a thing. Ooh, spooky. And people like to go there on Halloween to see if they can see Emily. Or like people will walk themselves through, or they'll drive through, and when they drive through, their car stalls out, or like something shakes the car or breaks the windows. And of course, I hear this in college, and I think this is all some nonsense, right? Like, okay, haunted bridge. Okay, cool, cool story. Um, so I'm chilling in my common room, and this girl, I have had classes with her, kind of a snooty one, but like it's maybe that's just how she was raised. I don't know. I don't judge people. But she was like a very like straight edge, straight like didn't drink, didn't do drugs, like straight edge, very like I went to a good school, my family's good, like I've never done anything wrong in my life. I'm actually really like just like you would not expect her to be telling you a tall tale, right?
Mhm.
So she worked in Stowe and she was supposed to meet someone on the other side of this farming area. So she ended up deciding to just take this bridge. So her car stalled out as she was entering the bridge and it stopped moving, like momentum stopped dead center in the bridge. She came to the common room and she was like, she was shook. She was visibly like, this is messed up. So we go out to her car because she's telling us this story. As we're going to her car, she's like, I have to show someone this. This is crazy. This is crazy. We go out. Her car windows are all blown out. Apparently, on the bridge, something was shaking her car. She saw like hands fog up on the car and like felt the smashes of someone out there, but there was no one there. And the windows busted from the inside out, from the back seat. It was wild. So
That's
I'm still like, okay, probably some hoodlums up there. They tried to roll you. Like, that's my thought. Like, okay, someone was trying to get you to abandon your car so they could steal your shit. And then we look at her as she got it, finally got it started, and drove away. And she heard something trying to grab the car. And I look at her back, like the top of her trunk, and there was just like these four, like it looked like someone's had sketch ass nails and was trying to grab the car as it was going from above and ended
mhm.
up scratching the paint. So of course, her telling the story to the girls on my floor, they're all like, "Oh, ghosts are real and we're about to see some scary shit. Let's all go." So I got roped into this for so many reasons, just because like they're like, "We need you there." I'm like, "Okay, fine, whatever." So we take two cars. Bunny's immediate thoughts: hoodlums and bridge trolls. Exactly. Exactly. And I would beat them. No, so we take two cars. We've got some of the guys from their dorm to like go with us. Um, the guys are driving after us. I'm in my friend's car. Ashley, she's driving, and she drives a stick shift, not an automatic like the other girl did. And the other person who was following us also drove a stick shift. This is important because when the car tried to stall out, she just cranked that shit, popped open the door, and kicked it off. Because it did. Her shit stalled out in the same spot. Her friend, like, no, we're not doing this today. And pushed the car through. Got it to roll off, got it to the other side. She was like, that was super weird. We had a dude with us who, full disclosure, was hammered. brought beer with him to the bridge. We get up on the bridge. I have like this little camera. I'm like, whatever. We're gonna take pictures. Somebody's got a voice recorder. We're gonna catch an EVP or something of the ghost speaking to us. And I'm just like, whatever. It's dark. There's no light. I'm just randomly taking a picture with a disposable camera with flash on in different angles, being like, a ghost will show up. Sure, why not? Like, just like no nonsense. I take pictures of the rafters. I'm like, whatever. And the drunk dude's like, Emily, tell me my fortune, which is like started a whole thing. And then someone shoved me from behind, but there was no one behind me. Another girl got super sick to her stomach and was just like, we need to leave. We need to leave. We need to leave. So finally we left because there was no spooky stuff happening. I mean, one girl did get pushed and had like a scratch on her back, but like psychosomatic shit can
Mhm.
happen. I've seen people like there was one thing where someone was blindfolded a dude and told like convinced him they were about to touch his arm with a piece of coal, hot coal, and they touched him with an ice cube, but it bubbled up like his skin bubbled up like it was experiencing a burn.
Mhm.
And it's part of that like, did that happen or did you think it so bad that your body immediately responded? Crazy,
Mhm.
crazy. I digress. So we get in the car, we're like, huh, weird, nothing happened. Okay, whatever. We go to start the cars, everything's good. Nobody stalled out on the way out of the bridge. And as we leave the bridge, her Ashley's radio cuts on. And it's an Avril Lavigne song. I'm standing at the bridge. I'm waiting in the dark. I thought that you'd be here by now.
Oh god.
Yeah. And like her radio, it was not a tape deck or anything. Like it was the radio station. We didn't turn the radio on. The radio just popped on. I was like, whoa, little on the nose, Emily. Okay, we get it. Like, cool story, girl. Like, do your stuff. So we get back. I'm like going over the recording. There's nothing, no like sketchy voices or anything. After we left the bridge, the girls that were feeling nauseous, um, it was a bridge troll, a ghost bridge troll. Absolutely, she trolled everyone. No, so we get back. I'm looking up stuff, and it turns out, the story of Emily's Bridge didn't become a thing until like the 70s when some girl needed to write a paper about a local thing and she allegedly took a Ouija board to the bridge and was like, I'm going to talk to a ghost here because ghosts live on bridges. For some reason, that was a thing. I don't know. And the story of Emily's Bridge was communicated to this girl via Ouija board. She wrote the story, it got passed around to people, and that's how it became a local lore.
See, and I feel like that's a case of even if something's made up, if enough people believe it.
Yeah, like the whole idea of a tulpa.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a
Um,
supernatural episode.
exactly. Sammy. Like no. So
You're getting pretty good at that.
it's the years of trauma done to my vocal cords. No, so I get that's pretty much the end of the story. Like nothing else got scary. Nobody was like, "Oh wow." That one chick had to pay like I think it was like $500 or $600 to get her windows fucking replaced, which
Mm.
sucks.
Mhm.
Um, Nobody else had any scratches on their car when we drove through, aside from like the creepy like radio thing. That's it. I did get the photos developed because I was like, why not? Every single photo was gray, just black gray, just nothing, nothing, except for the last three photos on the roll, the ones I took of the rafters.
Mm.
One had a giant red streak, one was a red outline of a person, and one was just a face.
That's really creepy.
Right? I was like, okay. Go off, girl. But yeah, that's a thing that happened to me. Um, that like I legitimately was not looking for a spook. I got roped into a spooky situation. Um, and I just again, I feel like it's crazy that like that particular Avril Lavigne song popped. Like that's just like, come on, come on.
Emily's got a good taste at least.
Yeah, I mean, it was Avril before she was swapped out, so
Yeah. I did look it up. No, Vermont is not the one with the most covered bridges. That's Pennsylvania, but Vermont does have over 100 covered bridges.
oh, I know where I got that stat. I misremembered. Thank you for calling me on my shit. So Vermont
No
doesn't
problem.
have the most covered bridges, but Linden Center slash Lindenville, Vermont has the most covered bridges in one town.
That makes sense.
That's where I was. I did a bad. I'm
No,
sorry,
it's
internet.
fine. We Vermont does have a fuck ton of covered bridges, though we do have one less because it burned this past winter when somebody's snowmobile got caught fire on it.
That's shitty. Were they okay?
Yeah, they got out fine, but I was like, the bridge. We can make another person.
God, no, I'm fine, cat. You don't have to check on me. That was a laugh. That was a laugh. Oh my god. That's the tracks. The tracks. Okay. This is the part of the stream where my cat decides to say hello. Uh
Hi, Moscow.
she's like, "Are you talking to Ty?" Oh,
I'm her biggest fan, you
she is.
know.
She is your biggest fan.
I know, and I'm like, you know what? I've made it. I have a cat that is my
That's how
biggest
you
fan.
know you've made it as a content creator when my cat is like, "I need to watch and or listen to her right now."
Right meow.
Right meow. Um all right. So that was that. That was that sidetrack story that I wanted to share. Because it just super spook, super spook.
Booper spoke.
Yes, yes, Mama Chips. Moscow knows you're here too. Um, yeah, when Mama Chips drives up my driveway, Moscow will go into the window and just like stare at her. Just like, hey, I know her. She my friend.
I like this one.
Okay, I guess you're gonna lay on my hand like that. Cool. That's what we're doing right now. Just chilling with Cat, talking about spooky stuff. Do you have a?
I do
Uh,
have a really short one. It's written like an ad, and I thought it was really creepy, so I saved it.
I'm here for it.
Okay, so it's called Trailer for Rent. Trailer for rent. Double wide on permanent foundation. 3 beds, 2 bath. Partially furnished. Quarter-acre lot. $1,000 a month. No down payment / no deposit. Looking to rent my double wide trailer. Husband recently left. Looking to rent the trailer as is. Has minor damage on the fridge where he swung and missed. Stains on the carpet from spilled red wine and beer. You're free to replace it if you'd like. Holes in the wall near the door where his anger got the best of him. I don't have the time to go in and patch the walls, but you are free to fix them. Willing to let tenants remodel and paint as they see fit. Trailer comes with all the furnishings inside. I took what I needed the last time the police arrested him. Couch has a large red stain. Couch has a large red wine stain, but it's easily covered with a slip cover. Tenant is free to do what they want with the furniture. Husband was a hunter, so don't be surprised to find stray shell casings under the furniture. Unwilling to offer rent to own because I need to retain ownership of the outbuildings. These buildings will remain locked and inaccessible to tenants. One building has bad plumbing, so please ignore any smell. I plan on addressing this issue soon. Newly poured concrete slab for the porch area outside the back door. Property features a fire pit large enough that we could cremate animal carcasses, so don't be surprised to find small bone fragments. I am currently out of state, recovering from a traumatic injury, so I can only accept electronic transfers of rent. Husband won't be returning, so I will be the sole landlord. No rental management companies involved. Looking for tenants with clean records. The neighbors don't like the police.
Oh, good for her. Good
Right?
for
Like, as I was
her.
reading, I'm like, "Oh, those aren't wine stains, are they?"
Like, no, of course, listen, of course they are. I'm gonna call her
Well
Charlotte. I'm deciding the woman's name is Charlotte for the sake of this. Listen, Charlotte's just a crazy lush, okay? Like,
Well, see, here's the thing, and, like, maybe this speaks more to about me as a person, and maybe people should be concerned, but I feel like I could be able to tell the difference between a wine stain and a blood stain because blood stains, as they sit, turn a little bit more brownish and rust
yeah,
colored,
because the iron
whereas
oxidizes.
wine, it turns more purplish.
That's true. That's true. Also, all she had to do was get a steam vac with some pine salt, would have taken that right out.
Yeah, I just really liked that, I was like, "Oh."
And as a person who's gotten rid of big furniture without this sounds really sketchy when I say that.
Without
Big furniture
arousing
with
suspicion.
arousing suspicion. What you do is you take an axe to it and you chop it
Mhm.
into little pieces and then you put it on trash bags and you put it in a dumpster behind Dunkin' Donuts and nobody questions it.
Oddly specific.
I had a couch that I lived when I lived in San Che. It I don't know how the fuck they got it into the apartment before I got there because I shared the rent with one of my cousin's ex-girlfriends because my cousin lived there. It was a whole there's a whole backstory that we're for the sake of the purpose we're not gonna go into that. It was a giant sectional. There's no way you would have been able to fit it up the stairwell or in the door or any of the doors. I was told that they got it up on a string into uh the terrace and then took it in through that door, but that wouldn't have made sense. Like it still wouldn't fit. Like there's a whole there's no way. I don't know how the hell they got it in there. And I was getting ready to move and I was like, how do I get reasonably, how do I get this couch out of here?
Mhm.
Nobody wanted to take the couch. So me and one of my cousins was like, okay, we're just gonna take an axe to this thing. We're gonna chop it up into little pieces. And was out of dumpster space. So we went to the local Dunkin' and local Dunkies and went to their trash behind it and just threw the like 7 packs of
Oh my
bags bagged up
god.
pieces of the furniture. Dunkin' Donuts, don't come for me. But that's how that's the backstory for why I made that comment.
Okay,
But
but, like, see, I kind of feel that because I was getting rid of a love seat, and I don't remember how we got it into the house, but we were able to get it onto the porch, but we couldn't get it down the stairs. I think we fixed the railing is what it is, and so, like, the
uh,
new railing wouldn't let the love seat go down the stairs and out the porch door, so we had to hack it apart. Thankfully, it was wood, but I found some things that I thought I had lost inside of it.
sometimes you just gotta take an axe to it, you know? Yeah, yeah. That tracks. That tracks. Whew. That was I loved that little ad, and again, Al even said it in chat. Good for her. Good for
Yeah,
her.
I don't remember, which Reddit I got it from, but the writer was Casey_WhereAlien.
That sounds like it could have either. I feel like it was either like no sleep or like let's not meet or something funny.
I don't think it was I think it was just Scary Stories is where I got it from because I believe there's one called Scary Stories.
Yeah, Reddit's a
Um,
treasure.
yeah, you gotta be careful because like,
Yeah,
as I was scrolling through, I'm like, "Okay, this one's too long," or some of them there was one that I was half tempted, but, it touched on some subjects that we don't discuss on here, so I was like,
that's
it's a
very
bit
reasonable.
touchy."
Yeah, and I respect that. Thank you so much.
Of course, I don't wanna do anything that nobody like, people aren't comfortable with. I personally wasn't super comfortable with it. I was like, "Oh, man, that's no, mm-mm."
Well, I have a funny, not a funny. Let's rephrase. I have a spooky story that
It's a funny
isn't.
spooky story.
Listen, I'm a terrible person. I chuckled at it. It's not funny.
Oh, no, that means I'm gonna laugh at it,
You are abs
know.
everyone will either be like, "That is so terrifying," or That's weird. Okay. Or ha ha ha, because that's I ha ha. This one is called Never Take Your Kid to a Trampoline Park with only 2-star reviews. I first heard the name Gravity Spear uttered at an awards ceremony for my 7-year-old son, Joey. The assistant principal, a hefty 40 something woman named Huffner, was rifling through a jar that had small shreds of paper with children's name on it so she could randomly pick a winner. What's that? I whispered to Joey as low as I could. Dad, only the coolest place ever. It just opened up. They have trampolines and basketball courts and giant play pens like the one McDonald's had when you were a kid, I think. He answered back. McDonald's play place was not that cool. Like, just
Hey,
as
no,
me, just
that
like
stuff was lit when we were kids. You know, the little video games that were crappy and you couldn't get past one level, and you had to take off your shoes to run around. And the slides were kind of crap, but you'd still try to climb up them anyway, even though you're not supposed to.
as an adult who just looking at like just I feel like it's a germ waiting to happen. 7-year-old
As
me is
an
already
adult,
sold. Hey,
as an
Shadow.
adult looking back, you're like, probably
Thank
not.
goodness I was up on my tetanus boosters, yeah? No, let's get back to this. Sounds pretty cool, I admitted, as I secretly hoped he would win. It's been a rough year for us. First, we had to move in with my parents because of the pandemic, and then his mom left. Joey could use a win. Honestly, we both could. Hey! Oh, wait, no. I read the wrong thing. So I sat back alongside with other parents with eager anticipation to see if his name was picked. It was not. The disappointment on his face was immeasurable. Hey, no worries. We can always go on our own sometime, I told him as he headed back to his class. His face brightened up again. You mean it? Sure, I can scrounge up some money and maybe we can go this weekend, I told him. It was a promise I shouldn't have made. That's true. You shouldn't just be like, yeah, I know nothing about this place, but we're gonna go this weekend. No,
It sounds so cool.
like, absolutely not. Gotta research. You gotta research it. Um, to be honest, I'm filing for bankruptcy and still struggling to keep a job. Working overnights at Walmart is not enough in this economy to even rent a small place where we live. And my parents, well, they've been extraordinarily kind to me for Joey's sake, but I can see the expression on my dad's face hardening daily. It's like a ticking time bomb. Still, I was sure this place couldn't possibly be that expensive.
Oh,
Guess again. No, that night after I tucked him in, I checked their website and my jaw dropped to the floor. $35 for just a few hours of being in that place? I know that may not sound like a lot to some, but when you're at the bottom of the barrel and living on borrowed time, it felt overwhelming. And
is he
below that,
dying of cancer or something?
I don't know what that is. I don't
Living
know what's
on
going.
borrowed time.
I mean, I get living hand to mouth as you're like trying to get like your situation settled, especially like low income pay. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot there,
Mhm.
but the borrowed time thing, I didn't even pick up on that. Oof.
Yeah, like that's just the thing that struck me as the borrowed time. But yes, anyway.
OP buried the lead. And below that had all sorts of monthly subscription plans, waivers you needed to sign, and more. It was just a headache to look at it all. That I feel that big mood. Um, I even tried to find a few cheaper places in the area, but all of them were doing the same song and dance. Sign up for special discounts, they said. Family plans are on sale now. It was just one big fuck you to the poverty class, wasn't it? I sighed in frustration, closing down the laptop and walking outside with my smokes. My only vice, God help me, even though I promised I would quit when Beth left. It's been tough to break the habit. I stood out on their back porch looking up at the stars and wishing things could be different. Then a ping on my phone alerted me to a special offer from one of the subscriptions I had signed up for. Oh, like email subscriptions. Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Having gone to trampoline parks, yes, it can be expensive. Okay, cool. Yes. Um, Only the name didn't really strike me as familiar. Dark Sky Entertainment. I was about to delete it, considering it spam, when then I saw what they were offering 2 free tickets to their trampoline park for that Saturday. No. The answer is no. Don't do it. It's stupid. That's a trap. They're gonna roll you in there.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
god.
it's hard to turn down that kind of price. Here's the thing. This is me saying there is no such thing as free shit. That's not how it works. There's
You
always there's
I've
always a
always
cost.
gone through the saying of you get what you pay for. So if you don't pay, you're gonna get something really bad.
And that's just super like weird to me that they're giving a free thing. Well, I'm gonna take a bite of this apple.
Honestly, it's making me think of like all these choosing beggar stories where the parents are like, "Hey, I need a nanny. I'm willing to pay $12 a week." And it's like the only person you're gonna get that's gonna take that offer is a pedophile.
That's not fun. It's not fun to laugh at that. But also, you're right. That's like exactly. There is always a cost to things. You can take that for whatever like your mindset is, but free things are never free. And
Right. There's always some sort of price. Just
yeah,
because it's not monetary doesn't mean there's
maybe
not a
it's not
price.
monetary, but you're going to pay for it one way or another. Let's see how it happens for him. I booked it immediately and kept waiting for that moment when they'd ask for a credit card information, but it never came. I had basically gotten lucky, I thought, and I couldn't wait to surprise Joey. Somehow I managed to keep my mouth shut until the end of the day of. And as we were eating breakfast, I announced, "Didn't we have some plans today?" His eyes got big as dinner plates. "Oh God, Dad. Did you get us tickets to the gravity sphere? For real?" he screamed excitedly. "Well, it's not the same place, but I bet it's even better," I told him. He was so busy running around the breakfast table, I don't think he was paying attention. He for sure was not paying attention, OP. Not at all.
Mm-mm.
"Go get dressed and we can head there now," I told him. My dad was leaning against the pantry, crossing his arms suspiciously. "Relax, I got a coupon," I told him as I showed him the email. He squinted and then put his glasses on, peering at the images and commenting, "Seems like a lawsuit waiting to happen if you ask me." I agree. Um, Mom rolled her eyes and told me to have a good time. "We should be back after lunch. I got a little change to grab us ice cream from Sonic," I told them both. According to the GPS, the trampoline park was only 17 minutes away in the downtown area. Not exactly the best spot for it since there was so much construction, so I opted to drive about 3 blocks away and park near the riverfront. Joey was hopping like a bunny the moment we got out of the car, but I still hadn't spotted the place. "Settle down and save your energy for when we get inside," I told him as I checked the address. It had to be somewhere nearby. I spotted an old school arcade and decided to ask the owner where the place was at. He smirked and pointed right behind me to an old black building with no windows. "Nope.
Mm-mm.
No, sir. That's a bad idea. Absolutely not. Do not do that. Do not do that. No." But he's gonna, though. Watch. Uh, Pointed behind me to an old black building with no windows. The place looked abandoned. "Wait, that doesn't look like the website at all," I told him. "Appearances can be deceiving," he answered with a
Mm-mm.
shrug as he returned to the register.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mm, okay. I took Joey's hand and we crossed at the intersection as I searched for a front door. The way the place looked so empty, it was giving me all sorts of weird vibes, and I was considering just leaving. You should just
Mhm.
leave. Absolutely. He's getting catfished by a trampoline park, and he's still like, no, I'm gonna stay here. We're gonna figure it out. No, no. Uh, but then I saw Joey's wide, curious eyes searching, and I realized I was being silly again. This place is harmless, I told myself. I just need to give it a chance. Is this like an alternate universe, like Kyle? Like, no, it's fine. Like, whatever. It's gonna be fine. Is that mean?
Yeah, like, okay, except for, like, he would put other people's safety ahead of, like,
That's
his
true. That's
morbid
true.
curiosity. Like, he would totally go in alone, but he would not let me go in with him if he thought there was any chance of danger. But then my dumb ass would follow him and be like, "No, if you're gonna be stupid, I'm gonna be stupid with you to make sure you're safe."
We're gonna be stupid together. Okay. I was being silly again. This place is harmless, I told myself. Just need to give it a chance.
Mm-mm.
We finally found the entrance, and I pushed the glass door open to let him run in first, my eyes adjusting to the dim lighting. Certainly going for that secret hideout look, aren't you? I asked the old lady behind the counter. She looked like she was on oxygen and she hated her job. Can I help you? She rasped. I showed her the email and she gave me a faint nod, telling us to wear wristbands inside. Inside, not inside. Ugh, cannot talk. They reminded me of Fitbit bracelets. Blue.
In
eh, Wait, so they have Fitbit bracelets, but it looks sketch
hella
and
sketch? Well, yeah, something's not.
there's so many. I'm like literally doing like the math meme where I'm like, this doesn't, things are not adding
Something's
up.
not adding up here.
This
Yeah,
is all
exactly.
sorts of wrong for so many reasons. I don't know what's going on here. Blue is the color you want to see. Red means you need to come to see me. Got it? She said. Do they monitor heart rate or something? I asked, even as she buzzed us in, and Joey was already running to check out all the attractions. Hold up, buddy, I shouted as I followed through the double doors, immediately finding myself in complete and total darkness. Joey, just wait a second so I can see where we're going, I said. There was actually some light, I realized. Several places on the wall I saw iridescent disco balls that dazzled around aimlessly and gave off this eerie pale to the entire structure. I cannot talk today. I am so sorry, chat, and anyone listening to this on the VOD. Apparently I can't read. The entire place was huge, with obstacle courses, a ball pit, a roller rink, and of course the bouncy mats that Joey had fantasized about. I caught sight of the silhouette over I caught sight of his silhouette over there already and squealed for me to come join him. All right, hold on. Let me get my shoes off, I told him. It was beginning to look like my reservations about this place were wrong. I thought as I sat down and slipped off my shoes. Then I heard a little girl crying. Parental panic mode set in and I zeroed in on her. She had just fallen off an obstacle course, and it looked like her and her parents were rushing to help her. The I only saw them at All I saw was the wristband. The only way I saw them at all was the wristband. Okay. Sorry, I read that stupid. Hers was red and the parents' was blue. So it was like the old woman had warned. The bracelets could detect if the customers had hurt themselves. I realized as I looked down at mine. She actually never said that though. She was like, if it's red, you need to come see me. She never answered his question about what it does.
Yeah.
Mm, mm. Do the bracelets hurt people? I don't know. I don't know. Pretty fancy, I decided, as the parent quickly escorted their injured child to the front desk. Finally getting ready, I ran over to join Joey and immediately did a cannonball onto the first trampoline. For the next 10 minutes or so, it was pure adrenaline and fun. I did my best to keep up with him, laughing excitingly and jumping back and forth, but it was quickly becoming apparent that my age was catching up with me, and I had to sit it out. Dad, it's no fun without you, he complained. It's fine. We only have about an hour left anyway. Go on. I told him as I rubbed my sore muscles. Joey didn't have to be told twice. He ran off to the obstacle course. I just sat there for a moment, trying to take stock of my body as a stranger sat down opposite of me, just close enough to make it uncomfortable. Although it was difficult for me to see, I could tell that this was a woman, and I mentally wondered if she was about to flirt. It wouldn't be the first time being a single dad got me a date, I thought. Instead, just as I was about to engage with her in a short conversation, she grabbed my hand and whispered, "Don't let him out of your sight, not for a second." For some reason, I looked down at her wristband and saw it was red, and then I heard Joey scream. I shot up in an instant and tried to see where my son was. The place was too damn dark. There were so many people, too. I felt like I simply had to find him and make sure he was okay. Soon I climbed over another barrier of obstacles and found him on the ground, clutching his knee and wincing in pain as I checked to see how bad the injury was. "Let's get you out of here," I suggested, as I lifted him up and carefully moved to the edge of the jumping pads. Once on the carpeted flooring, I checked it again, wishing the building provided us with better lighting, as I whipped my phone out and used the light instead. His wristband was bright red, glaring in my face as I took him to the front desk. "I need to get my son to a clinic. I think he injured himself on your equipment," I told the receptionist. She looked across the counter at our wristbands and shook her head. "Can't let you out if that's blinking red," she commented.
That's weird.
Also, so we don't, it never in his story has he said, "Oh, and I had to sign like
A
injury
waiver.
forms or waivers like that." I mean, a lot of places have you, if they have you jumping around and doing stuff, they would have you fill out those forms, right?
Mhm. You would think so.
Um, yo, and they are at a trampoline park, and it's got 2-star reviews apparently. That's the title said. Um, so they didn't sign a form. Kid's injured, and the lady's like, "Actually, you can't take him off the premises." Why? That's weird to me. "What do you mean? My kid needs medical attention." "I don't know if he broke something or not," I snapped as I helped Joey to his feet and moved toward the front door. The entrance way buzzed in alarm as we went through the parking lot, and he kept crying, worrying me that he had in fact been injured a lot more than I realized. I checked my phone, calling his pediatrician. "Don't worry, bud," I told him as I was carefully pulling his body to get him to the car. As we got to the clinic, I paced the waiting room. Joey kept looking at me with big tear-filled eyes, and I kept trying to tell the nurse to hurry. The clinic wasn't busy. They got him back for x-rays and blood work a few minutes later, and I sat down, trying to relax. I should never taken him there, I thought to myself as I checked for reviews on the place. Should have known this was a mistake when I saw the 2-star rating, I thought angrily. And then I saw a few disturbing posts that made me pause. Parents complaining how their children weren't the same after they had visited the park, distant and cold, almost acting like strangers to their own family. Some even posted their children were completely different people. "Not my child," one woman said. "It's a fake. Something inside that park is replicating them." That sounds like some X-Files shit. That's not
Mhm.
me saying that. That's what's in the fucking story. Sounds like artificial rigging of the ratings by not letting anyone who would sue ever see the light of day again. Yes. The doctors called me to the exam room, showing me Joey's slides, and it suddenly occurred to me that I was looking at the bone structure of a child that wasn't mine. "It's amazing to see how much he's changed since the last time he was here," the pediatrician said. I looked at Joey, feeling confused and scared. He looked just like my son. Was I letting some weird internet conspiracy influence my brain? I think
Probably.
I thanked the doctor and took Joey home, keeping an eye on him all night. He didn't speak to me. He acted like he didn't even want to be near me. I I keep thinking of changelings.
Mm.
That's like my first, but like, I don't know. I don't know. It felt like we had just met and he was treating me like an invader. I kept thinking about the trampoline park. What if there was something bizarre to their operation? My brain, outside of the story, is like, what if it's a changeling that was just chilling there, looking like your son, and then you straight up kidnapped him, and that's why he's super upset because you kidnapped him? Is that weird for me to have that thought? That that's why he's crying, brother?
I don't think so. I was saying, am I muted? No, I'm not.
Oh
No,
no.
it's hmm. I just don't know how they would have switched anything out. I don't know. This story's a little weird, but
It's weird. It's weird. As I got Joey ready for bed, I decided to check some of the stranger reviews and see if anyone else had these sort of misgivings. Surely there was a logical explanation.
surely.
Surely. But my son felt so cold. I didn't feel comfortable around him, and even my mom complained that something was off. Are you sure he didn't hit his head? He isn't acting right, she told me. And as I went to my room and read stranger and stranger descriptions of these children, I became worried for my safety. In some cases, the parents worried the children would try to hurt them. In other instances, people posted missing persons reports, claiming it showed that the children had in fact tried something deadly. I felt a chill run down my spine. Wait a minute. So someone posted in like a Google review, like, oh yeah, this
Yeah.
person went to the park and here's their missing persons file, like in the review.
That's okay. I'm just sitting here like thinking, yep, this was also a supernatural episode.
Was it?
There was an episode where their kids were being kidnapped and replaced with
Yes. Okay. Yes.
something else, and they kept killing the parents.
Yes. I remember that. Ooh, spooky. I felt a chill run down my spine. Wait. Okay. In some cases, missing persons claiming it showed that the children had in fact tried something deadly. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized Joey had gotten up from bed and was watching me in the hallway. Kids do creepy shit, dude.
Mhm.
Was this my son? Was this real? I got on my knees and told him, "Are you having a nightmare?" The child said nothing, just staring at me, or staring through me, to be honest. I stepped away from him and then guided him to his bed, this time making sure he was tucked in and then closing the door firmly. I was being paranoid, I told myself, trying to figure out why my son was acting strange when clearly he had just suffered a traumatic injury. I went back to my room and closed my phone, trying to get some sleep. I told myself I would be safe, but then I worried about my parents. What if he hurt them? What if I was wrong and something was seriously going on here? Somehow I managed to close my eyes. But sometime during the night, I felt cold feet against my back. The child. At first, I tensed up. It had been years since he had slept here. As a toddler, he often had nightmares. Did the incident at the trampoline park frighten him? I slowly put my arm on him to comfort him, trying not to overreact. This was how it was supposed to be. Then I heard a noise at the door. Need to go back, a voice said. I felt sudden dread cover my body as I tried to get a look at whatever it was in my bed. Then I rushed to the wall to flip the lights on. The room was empty except for Joey. He was laying there, looking cold and confused, and as distant as he had the past day. A cold sweat dripped off my neck as I looked in the mirror of my bathroom. Joey was staring at his reflection like it was a predator. I closed the bathroom door and held his hands. Please, please talk to me. I can help you. He reached for my hand and mimicked the motion of jumping as though on my palm, I cannot read today, were about to be a springboard. The part you want to go back, I asked. He nodded silently. He looked like he was about to crack. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't sleep. I had to get this resolved, and I figured maybe going back there would be the answer. I got my keys and we left right after 2 a.m. What?
You gonna break in?
That I just feel like this is such an over. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is I don't know. Like all I can think was like, okay, he's gonna break in. And does he think this is his kid or does he believe it's not his kid and he's just trying to bring it back and maybe get his kid back, but he doesn't say that, so I'm not sure.
There's a lot. There's a lot like going on. I'm very confused. Um, I just there's just 2 a.m. I'm gonna go back to the trampoline park because that'll work. Um, I got my keys and we left right after 2 a.m. I was telling myself the building wouldn't be open, but to my surprise, it was. Oh, it seemed more foreboding than it had the first time, more unfriendly and dangerous. It gave a supernatural vibe. That's funny. Um, I saw a dim light near the reception desk, and the same woman was still working. She didn't
What?
seem shocked to see us. She
What
was still
is this?
working from this morning?
What the fuck
Girl,
is this
that's
place?
some labor laws. Get on them.
The whole yeah, it's like the Fey trampoline park. Like this person's not a real person either.
Just chilling, living her best life. Um, she didn't seem shocked to see us. I knew you would return him, she said confidently. I led the child inside, and the moment we were in, he let go of my palm and went to play. The park was empty save for us. There wasn't even any music playing, it felt like a graveyard. Except for a single figure on the opposite side of the bounce pads, just sitting there watching Joey. I sat directly across from them, noticing they had a child with them too, but I couldn't see their faces. Were they just sitting there? Why were they here at the same time as me? I was beginning to get uneasy from being watched by them as Joey ran over towards the end of the park. Instinctively, I got up and moved toward them to make sure they were safe to be around. My man, it is 2 a.m. and it's sketchy, like blacked out,
This
no
two-star
window,
rated
2-star
trampoline
rated
park
trampoline park. Don't make you sign no
that they
waivers.
stole your child, gave you a replacement that's
Like,
acting weird.
your son literally, or somebody got hurt. Like, it's 2 a.m. Well, just all of this is like, no, no. It doesn't make no damn sense. That's what got him, though. There was other people, and he wanted to make sure that they were safe to be around. That's It's 2 a.m. No, the answer's no. Ugh. I saw there was a child and he was wearing a blue bracelet. He got up and exchanged places with Joey. Then the boy ran toward me. It was Joey. It was my Joey. I can't explain how I knew, but I did. As he clung to me, I looked at the shadowy silhouettes in confusion, realizing that both wore the red bracelets. I couldn't see if they looked like me and my son anymore, but they disappeared into the shadows a moment later. Joey was just clinging to me, afraid to let go. I comforted him and went from the front desk, staring at the woman that ran the show. What was that? I asked, too frightened to believe any of this actually happened. People say they see different things, so tell me, what was that? I looked back inside, this time seeing shadows dancing and playing across the trampolines, wanting to replace more eager souls. Realizing that Joey and I were very lucky, I took his hand and left. Dad, I don't ever want to go there again, he said anxiously as we got in the car, and I couldn't agree more.
They just gave him back? I don't this
There's a lot to unpack. Real,
there's a
there's a
lot.
lot. I will do that in a second. I do just want to say this was on the subreddit No Sleep. It was posted 4 days ago by user Colorblindness. And the title is Never Take Your Kid to a Trampoline Park with Only 2-star reviews. So there is a lot here. I am not a parent, um, but I have like a ridiculous number of nieces and nephews. And I feel like I have been blessed with common sense. So for me, there is a lot of red flags. If just all together. Okay, so you wanted your kid to win the tickets, and then when he didn't win the tickets and was bummed, um, you then promised to take your kid to a trampoline park uh on that weekend, not knowing any of the specifics, just like, oh, cool, like it's a thing you want. Yeah, we'll absolutely do that this weekend.
Mhm. Like, that seems like some rich people shit, and you say you're so poor that you're living with your folks again.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there's a lot of different circumstances for different people. And I agree that like there is definitely a point where, $70 for a couple of hours is in my mind ridiculous. I wouldn't pay that.
Look, I live near Stowe. I know Stowe prices, and even I'm like, "That's expensive."
That's some real when it's too rich for the Stowe area.
Mhm.
But it's just so then after making said promise, he decides to look it up and signs up for like the spam emails to tell you,
Yeah, and then
"Excuse me,
immediately
you sold
gets
me a broken item. I want a replacement." Ah, yes. My child
yeah,
is now
so
defective. Please exchange.
he
Um,
gets spam emails, and, like, that's another thing, but he then immediately gets a thing of like, "Hey, you want some free tickets?"
yeah, it's like the name of our amusement play place is Dark Sky, whatever it was called, Dark Sky something.
Something. Which in and of itself is kind of a red flag, like, why is it named something like, I love it,
Like,
I think
kids'
it's
places are
creepy.
usually, yeah, I mean, it was a great story, I liked it, but, like, kids' places are, like, usually named, like, bright and, like,
Like, what was the place of the actual place? Like,
Gravity Sphere.
Gravity Sphere, like, that sounds like something a kid would wanna go to. "I wanna go to Gravity Sphere," or, um
We're gonna go to Dark Skynet, and we're gonna watch the
yeah,
Terminators be created, child, and they may or may not get you. Like, you know what? Like, it's I don't know, it seems to me,
or, like, Bounce World, things like that, you
yeah,
know?
or like Chuck E. Cheese's as opposed to Dirty Child Rat Casino, like you know what I mean? Like if you're advertising to that subset, you want the kids to be jazzed up enough where their parents are like, whatever, we're gonna go. Like you have
Mhm.
to like make it like appealing to the small child. Um, I just don't think also, so then he gets the free tickets, he signs up and is like, cool, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be like the man at this. Bam. Um, then he drives there, has that weird interaction with the arcade dude who's like, "Yeah, there it is. Ha ha ha. Looks are
And that's
deceiving." Which is like,
sketchy ass
what?
building. Yeah.
Is that
Don't mind
interaction
that it
reminds
gives,
me of
like,
like when you're
red
watching a
district
horror
vibes.
movie. When you're watching a horror movie and like the kids stop off to get gas at some like
Mhm.
weird gas station that's like out in the middle of nowhere, and the guy's
Every
like,
time.
"Yeah, that cemetery up there." Running like chewing tobacco. Like that's the vibe that gave off. I'm like, okay. So then he crosses the street. He's like, huh, weird. None of these photos look like the advertisements I seen. And then
He
continues to proceed in.
like I said, it was like, "Oh, yeah, don't mind it's in the red light district, but that's okay."
Willy Wonka, but slightly off.
Honestly, though, when he was back home and the kid was being creepy, all I could think of is a two-sentence horror story that I had heard, and it's basic I might butcher it, so I'm just gonna tell it how I would tell it. Um, it's like, "Dad," my son said, "there's something underneath my bed." I laughed and I looked under the bed, knowing that there'd be nothing there. But when I looked, I saw my son, and he said, "Dad, there's something on my bed."
Oh, ooh. Also,
Right?
also, kids are creepy. There's
Kids
like
are fucking
there's
creepy.
there's a lot of like kids being creepy as shit at different like kids under 8 can be creepy and say creepy stuff, and it's like sometimes they just be saying unnerving shit, and like you just kind of have to like okay cool and just like roll with it because it is unsettling when like kids be like yeah I like my friend C, one of my nephews, my friend C was a stock car driver. He was running from the police, but then he got shot. And I'm like, what? He was like 4 when he said that. I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, kids are
Oh,
creepy.
I knew this little girl, she wasn't it was, like, second cousin because it was, Al's cousin's daughter. And when she was little, she, like, had this old cell phone that, like, didn't work anymore. She's like, "Yeah, I'm talking to my friend. His house just burnt down and his dad was still inside." And I'm like, "What in the heck?" And, like you said, she was, like, 5 maybe. And,
Yeah.
like, Al would looked at me, he's like, "You're corrupting the child." I'm like, "I've never spoken to this child before in my life.
Like, hold up. You can't blame me for that.
You can't blame me for
That was
this
organic.
one."
And like I think and maybe again, I'm not a parent, but maybe someone listening to this or someone watching this now or watching it later is a parent and they can relate to like sometimes kids say creepy ass shit and you're just like, "Okay, cool." Like but then he gets there, he sees it's still like super dark. Again, in places where they're going to be jumping around, playing on equipment,
Oh, yeah,
doing
it's
all
usually
sorts of
hella bright.
like, it should be hell like, almost to the point where you're like, "Wow, these lights are obnoxious." Because like, when I think of, like, if I'm going into an establishment that is dimly lit, I think of, like, "Cool, this is a dive bar. They have not washed the floors in, like,
Mhm.
8 months or ever. Like, it's sticky when you walk." Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm. But you expect
That's
that in a dive bar. You
that's
don't expect that at a freaking trampoline park.
like, yes, 100,000% kids say creepy things. That's real. Okay. I feel validated. Thank you, chat.
The
Uh,
biggest thing that comes to my mind with the creepy kids thing, is there was a compilation of, like, creepy things that kids said, but one of them that's, like, stuck in my mind was this little girl was talking to her mom, and she went, "Do you remember when I was the mom and you were the baby, and they came and they chopped our heads off?" And the mom's like, "Oh, no, sweetie, I don't remember that." "Well, I do. They came in and they went chop, chop, chop."
the fuck, dude.
I know,
Oh my
like,
god.
I'm like, "This is just another strike against having kids." Like, "No, I'm good."
Why? No, and then just okay, so my thing. Okay, so what happened specifically in there? So the kid, he lost sight of the kid after this
Mhm.
woman with a different color bracelet was like, "Yo, don't ever take." She distracts the father and
I
says,
know,
"Don't
comes
take
up,
your eyes."
says,
Like I feel like
"Don't look at him, look at me. Don't take your eyes off of him."
I need you to look at me, look at the kid, look at this candle. Like make eye contact. It's just
"Now,
it's
look at me, look back at your kid. Now look at me, look back at your kid. Look back at me, look back at your kid. It's no longer your kid."
like it's very just like come on. Come on. So, okay. So, what could it have been? My mind, that's my thought like what happened? And oh,
Honestly, the biggest explanation I have is a changeling of some sort, especially if, like, they went back and they switched places back. But then if that was the case, why would that happen? Did the changeling wanna go back so bad, like, it didn't like being out in the world with this other person who wasn't its parent? That's like, "No, I wanna go back with my person, and I'm willing to change places with your actual kid."
it just so I mean, so here's my brain thinking about changelings is that so the whole concept of a changeling in Celtic folklore like Irish folklore of that general region is that the fae come and take your child but replace it with a child of their own to for whatever fucking reason I don't know um hold on or the boy that said that they took me and buried me under the tree until I died every time they passed this one place. Sometime later, the area gets dug up and there's a
Ah.
body found. Ugh! No. See, no, 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 no. Uh, so, okay. So the whole changeling thing, the Fae swap out your kid, um, because of Fae agenda. I don't know. For whatever reason. And one of the things to like get that corrected, if you catch it early on, I guess, is to take the kid and bring them to a place that the Fae be hanging out in our world, like a Fae circle or anything like that, or like deep in the forest where the Fae, like a certain area that people say this is where the Fae chill out when they hang out on our plane of existence, and you leave the kid there. You
Mhm.
just straight up like leave the kid there, and then you wait for the kid to get swapped out, and that's it. And like sometimes the kid comes back, and sometimes you just left your kid in the middle of a forest and they died due to exposure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole lot there. Then there's the whole idea like, okay, well, they look like shadow people. You don't actually see them. So, like,
Right.
are these like shadow imposters? Is this like an interdimensional thing? What's going on with that? Like the whole bracelet thing, the red and the
Yeah, that was
blue.
weird too. And, like,
It,
I can't let you leave if the bracelet's red. So, like, they're not supposed to leave the area,
and
but then
that's why
parents
I
leave it
think
anyway?
maybe this, and this is my brain trying to like work its way through. So is it like an interdimensional nexus where multiple planes of existence or like universes or whatever coincide in the same focal point, and the brace is to how you determine if you were actually from this place or the other place? Like, is there another old lady on the other side, like with her oxygen mask, like probably still chain smoking, being like, yeah, so if your bracelet turns blue, you need to come see me. Like, versus the lady who was like, if you see it red, come see me.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's actually, Jotun brings up a valid point in the chat where like a lot of like the origins of different metaphysical, like the different myths, if they were rooted in mental illness, halted development disease or PTSD or something like that. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about, you know, that whole concept of what is magic but science we don't understand. What is this? If we're not like your frame of reference when someone's like trying to work their way through a story or work their way through an experience, the information they have available to them is absolutely going to dictate how they process their experiences. So if I don't know that you can create fire, but I see fire suddenly happen, I'm gonna think that's magic, right? Like, yo, what was that?
Okay, so you saying these things, like, that makes me think, like, we don't always know what's going on, and what I'm thinking of is something that Al told me, and it's the need for different experiences when we're looking back into history because, these archaeologists were in an area and they found an obsidian knife up in the rafters of the kitchen, and they were like, "Oh, okay, well, it's up in the rafters, it must be a religious thing, it's closer to God, whatever, whatever." And then one of the women who recently had a kid was like, and she reached up, she's like, "You know what? It's in reach of me, an adult, but it's not in reach of the children." And if you think of it, an obsidian knife is gonna be hella sharp. So they
Right.
put it up where the kids can't reach it. So it had a simple explanation, but a lot of times, like you said, if we don't have an explanation, we're like, "Oh, magic."
Yeah. It's the whole frame of reference. Like if you've been working in the Serengeti for years and then you come stateside and you're walking through a meadow or whatever and you see hoof prints, maybe your brain's gonna be like, oh, just a zebra. But like hoof
Right.
prints do not equal zebra. There's always gonna be some explanation that makes more sense than how other people will experience it. I mean, I myself often get sidetrailed on trying to like unravel something. Um, and that's kind of the fun of like little mysteries. Is just kind of going through and being like, cool. So what could this be? What is it? It's that whole objective investigation versus subjective investigation. Like
Right.
if I already think it's zebras, I already think it's going to be zebras. Everything I see around that would be evidence, I'm going to view it under that lens that supports my idea that these are zebras
Hmm.
versus like this is a hoof print.
Well, and that's the same exact thing that Kyle and I do when we're watching like those ghost videos. Is we watch and we'll be like, okay, how is the camera used? Could somebody have easily switched in here to do this? Could somebody have hidden behind here? Is the door moving back and forth by itself? Because normally, if a door opens by itself, it's like, okay, does it shut by itself too? Because it's easy enough to pull a string one way. And so, usually, the ones that we can't explain are ones where we cannot find a rational explanation for.
Like the little ghost hunty shows, I actually like despise almost all of them.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're very like I watched a few episodes of Ghost Adventures because I had some friends who were like, "You need to watch this episode. It's ridiculous," and it really infuriated me to no end. And we'll definitely talk about that and like some of that information on a future podcast, a future episode. But the one ghost hunting show I actually had respect for and was like, you know what? I get this. I think it was Ghost Hunters. It's just the name of it. And there was these two plumbers who were like, yo, everybody be saying their house is haunted. I bet you it's just poor maintenance. And there was
That's
one episode where the
hilarious.
dude was like, this door keeps opening and shutting. And he goes like, no, you got like a messed up floorboard and it's throwing this off when you step on it. And that causes it to come up. Here's how you fix it. Then he fixed the lady's door and it stopped. He's like, all you had to do was fix this floorboard and tighten this hinge where the door handle goes in. That's all you
That's
had to do to fix it.
amazing.
Yeah. Or like the other one was like, oh man, we're at a school and there's something crazy, like a ghost. We're seeing a ghost. And all they had to do was clean the security camera because there was a cobweb up there.
Oh my goodness.
Like, do I
Yeah, like
think paranormal stuff, spooky stuff, do I think these things exist? Absolutely. Do I think they're going to happen in such a way that people will have tangible evidence and that
consistently.
consistently? Probably not, honestly. But does every paranormal experience that someone experiences and shares, did those all occur? 9 times out of 10, no, I don't I don't think so. A lot of it again is that whole worldview. Like you're already so keyed up, being like, oh man, this is a spooky place, spooky
Mhm.
stuff. Like, oh, something's happened. Like, what's going on? This is super weird. But really, just like clean your security cameras. You know?
Like, people seriously seem to underplay the power of suggestion.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I took several psychology classes, but one in high school, and we went ghost hunting because my psychology teacher, he was bound and determined. Like, he wasn't one of those people like, oh, look, I found evidence, but like, he really wanted to find something. But he was very clinical about it. And like, he did a whole thing of like, I have a flashlight here, could you please turn it on? And I was like, here, I'll even show you. And like, he'd stand there and he'd wait. But there was one point we were walking through, it's a Hyde Park Opera House, actually. We were doing it at night, you know.
Mm.
And there's one point he's like, yeah, sometimes if you feel a ghost, it might feel like a cobweb. And suddenly 3 of the girls in my class were like, oh my God, I just felt a cobweb on my face. And I'm like, really? Did you really? And a lot, like I said, a lot of it is the power of suggestion.
I mean,
And
yeah, and it's not just even with like ghost hunting stuff. Like you'll see the power of suggestion used in marketing campaigns. And like
yeah.
like think about like drug uh drug companies like when they do their medicines or whatever on television
Mhm.
where they'll be like, yeah, like do you sometimes feel like blah, blah, blah? Maybe it's blah, blah, blah. Like, do you wake up in the morning and go in bed at night? Does the sun rise in the east? Have you ever been thirsty? Well, this, you might have clinical depression, and this is for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, and like even in like those people who can read minds, like I bet I can read your mind, pick a number, now pick a letter, now pick an animal that starts with the last letter of that color. I bet you pick this. And most of the time they can guess that because people think in a linear way and they're open to suggestion. If somebody's wearing a lot of blue and they're like, guess a color, you'll think blue because that's what you're seeing.
yeah. I mean, oh, so getting into like the whole psychic thing, that is a whole, like, there have been like a lot of different governments over the course of like the last few hundred years have like actually done like very questionable studies to
Hmm.
kind of try to find a link saying like, do psychic abilities exist, like can we prove it, like with data that this is a thing. And it's kind of interesting to think about. But as far as like the everyday like mentalist kind of attitude where like I'm a psychic, um, I a lot of them are con men, like realistically.
Like, I'm not saying that there's nobody out there who
No, of
doesn't have,
course.
because the world is vast, and even I myself, I call them my vibes. Like, I'm not saying I'm psychic, but I get most people, you can get a feeling about other people, and you should usually trust that feeling. Like, if you get to like meet somebody and you're like, they're not a good person, and then it turns out to be right most of the time, you should trust your feeling. But these people, yeah, like the television ones, like call and I can predict your love life, or I can reach out to the dead. Like freaking Houdini and his wife spent so many years disproving these people. And
Yeah,
my favorite one was when he went to, whose wife was it? Was it Arthur Doyle? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle? I believe it was his wife. Was like, I can talk to the dead. So he went to her, and of course, the freaking writer of Sherlock Holmes is a person all in himself. But anyway, Houdini went to her. She said that she contacted his dead mother because he was very close to his mother. And she wrote as his mother pages and pages of stuff. And when he looked at it, he knew she was a con woman because all the words were in English, but his mother only spoke Polish. She didn't know any English. So if she was writing as his mother, it wouldn't have been English.
I remember that. Yeah, you just at the second you said you knew it was false, I was like, oh wait, this is the Polish thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
mean
mean,
it's
I'm not super surprised because Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was so convinced of things and was really dumb. Like, I don't know how he and Houdini were friends, because he was like, "Oh my God, Houdini, you're magic," and Houdini's like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "Yeah, you are." He's like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "Why won't you tell me you're magic?" And so like Houdini showed him a couple of his tricks, like, "No, see, this is how it's done." And then he's like, "Oh my God, you poor man, you don't realize you're magic." I mean, this is the same guy that gave a couple little girls like a camera and was like, "Yo, go take pictures of fairies." They literally cut out paper fairies and we're like, "Look, we took pictures of fairies." And he's like, "Oh my God, you did." And people are like, "No, those are obviously
so
paper
easily
cutouts."
bamboozled. The creator
Like
of Sherlock.
the freaking guy who created Sherlock Holmes. Like, I don't understand.
That's insane. I love it.
And that's why he wasn't able to find Agatha Christie when she decided to be like, "Yo, I'm out. I'm gonna go like disappear for a few days."
Deuces. Uh, no, like there's definitely, I do think that there are there are definitely people who have innate gifts, for sure. Do I think every person who claims to have these gifts legitimately does? No. Because there's definitely money to be made in shaking down sad people who are grieving. Or
Yeah, I find that the most despicable
it's
is people like,
gross. It's
"Oh,
gross.
you're grieving right now when not in your most sane mind. Well, now I'm gonna prey on you and make you spend thousands of dollars that you don't have."
What was that one dude's name? John Edwards or something? Or Like he had the TV show where he would just walk around a crowd of people and be like, somebody named with a name that starts with M. Oh, you? And then of course, like again, the power of suggestion. Oh,
Mhm.
I had a cousin named Mary Lou. That's so weird. I haven't talked to her yet. She's dead. Is she? I just talked to her yesterday. No, someone who knew her is dead, and they're talking about her. Yeah, that's what's happening. Like,
Well, yeah,
all
it's the
those
power of
people paid money to be
suggestion
there.
and being able to read body language.
Absolutely. Picking up on subtle hints that the person's giving. It's the same thing like how you can if you know someone or even just you walk into a room and you're talking to someone, you can easily tell when someone's lying if you're quick enough to pick up on subtle cues that they give. Or like when they're trying to say something to you and they look off to the left, they're lying. Like because they're trying to fabricate something. And it's not even like a blatant like I'm gonna look up. It's like a very small, quick thing. Um, stuff like that. I mean, the whole process of social engineering is taking advantage of those types of things and turning it to advantage so you can get what you're trying to accomplish done.
Mhm.
Like you're not going to try to break into a building by just being like, "Yeah, I can break in here because I'm cool." When you could easily just put on some dungarees and a painter's cap and be like, "Yeah, I'm supposed to fix whatever." Like, I don't have my ID. They're like, "Oh, cool, whatever." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole thing is just acting like you're supposed to be there. There was a guy on TikTok who saw, like, these cardboard cutouts of
Oh, I
people.
remember that.
Yeah, promoting meals and stuff at convenience stores, and he asked about it, and like, yeah, people just bring it in and then set it up, and then they come back and take it down. So he made his own of like, and made a completely fake thing of himself. Went into a convenience store, set it up. Nobody said anything to him, and he left.
Didn't they end up offering him like a brand deal for a meal?
I
There were like
don't
so
know. I
many
only saw
people
the first
came in
part of
and took
it.
selfies with this and asked about the meal. Like I think I saw like a follow-up video where he was like, "Yeah, like so we're we're making an actual meal. It's happening." Like so that's weird. Yeah, so Jotun, I do agree with you on that. A lot of so the eyes thing, okay, so absolutely that was an example I was using as a quirk science. Um, I definitely appreciate you calling me out on it though. Because a lot of those studies again are on they're small group sets that people are looking into to kind of baseline a lot. I mean, if you go back 100 or so years, they literally had books of like if you look at this person's facial structure, you can determine the type of temperament they will have based on the space between their brow and their nose and the curvature of like the sides of their lip, like weird ass random shit. In this day and age, we know that that's not true, but in that time set, people were like, "Yeah, that tracks." Like that dude's mustache looks like this, so clearly he's a sociopath. Boom. And just as psychology is, in my mind, from my opinion, not so much a science as it is an art, because it is continually adapting based on very subjective information from limited groups and different individuals. Like everybody's brain doesn't work the same when it comes to like processing information. I mean, at a physical level, absolutely. It's going to be the same. But our experiences are going to dictate how we interpret that. It's that whole mindset. That's my whole thought on that. There's more I could go into, but we have sidelined because we were talking about like Fey changelings. I'm so sorry.
Seeing how
um,
our conversations can devolve.
yeah. Recent studies show even people trained to detect lies have about 50% hit rate. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The statistics don't. I mean, even the polygraph test, anybody could fake that. Where
They're
people are
actually
like,
finding it harder and harder. Like they're finding people, like they have learned ways that people try to do it.
yeah,
So polygraph tests are actually like 92% accurate. Which is why I don't understand why they're not used in courts more often, because they'll use eyewitness testimony and people themselves are way more fallible than a freaking polygraph test.
Absolutely. Eyewitness testimony, through and through is garbage. Because people misremember stuff all the time. Or can be led to remember things that didn't happen. Through the power of wonderful suggestion. Um, so yeah, the false positive thing with polygraphs. So the reason it's not admissible in courts for the most part, isn't so much that they don't trust the data set. Even if they've made improvements, the whole thing is that, listen, if it was so easy for us to be bamboozled this many other times, and we've made changes and we're continually seeing people bamboozle us, there's always going to be a way someone's going to figure out. And all it takes is for one person to mess up that system, for that system to no longer be infallible and no longer be something that you can say, hey, like DNA, like looking at DNA and saying, oh, this can be used as a piece of evidence. It In order to change DNA, it's a lot harder to do that than to say, if I went and talked to somebody and said, hey, do you remember seeing that lady with like green shirt and glasses? This is when you would have seen her. Maybe you didn't even realize you saw her, but did you see her? I could convince this person that they saw them, even though they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like the same thing with a polygraph, is that when you ask those questions, they're supposed to be yes or no questions. They're not supposed to be asking you questions to elaborate. I mean, you see that in pop culture where they're like, "Yeah, tell me about your thing," and they do the polygraph. That's not how that would go. It's a yes or no. They have a very standard set. They look at your heart rate. They look at your vitals as they're going through. Um, and anybody can beat it, even if they weren't doing the tack method, even if they weren't doing the toe method or any of those other methods that people have come up with to kind of trick those responses to make it seem that they're lying one time when they're not, during those questions where they're trying to calibrate and figure out what do your stats look like when you lie. Um, Even just like that whole thought of like, if I convince myself before I go in here that this is my story, this is my story, this is my story, and I believe it, that polygraph's going to reflect that I believe that happened when it didn't. And after I get out of there, I know it didn't. I still know it didn't, but I got him. False convictions are heavily frowned upon and also easy to coerce with a polygraph. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I am right now reading an article about it, so just a second.
We started talking about Faye. Now we're talking about why polygraphs can't be
I am
admissible.
legit at sgp.fas.org reading an
Uh,
article.
FAS. What do these acronyms mean? Even has a 9% success rate multiplied by thousands across cases. That means you have thousands of people who weren't trying, but they were disbelieved as well. Yes. Absolutely. Even that thing where, because of how it's set up, in my mind, this is how I'm making it work, how I'm working it out, is because of how they base whether you're telling the truth or not, on those your reactions, your body reacting some type of way. If I am emotional hysterical when I go into a polygraph and I'm trying to tell you the shit, I'm trying to answer, I'm answering as honestly as I can, but I'm already nervous. Me
Well,
saying,
that's
no, I didn't
why.
kill him, but I'm already nervous because of what so emotionally whatever. Like, it's going to be like, no, she absolutely murdered him
Well, that's
and
why they
put him in
have
the
the
cement.
baseline questions first. They will ask several baseline questions so they get, because each person's different, they will ask baseline questions to see where your heart rate is at. Like, they'll ask you questions they know the answers to, like, are your eyes brown? Things like that. So they get a baseline.
I would love to see that article, you. Yes, that is definitely, I want to look into that just for like my own brain. Um, but very good. I've very good. This has been a very enlightening conversation.
My only argument is if they won't use a polygraph because it is only 90% success. For the sake of argument, we'll say it's 90% hard success rate. They're like, oh, that's too low. Why are we still using eyewitness testimony?
Honestly, again, I agree with you on that. I don't think they should. And again, it's a lot of the I can lead someone. Like you even see it like people people being specific police states or whatever like can coerce a forced confession. Um, they can have somebody, especially when you're looking at, okay, when I'm trying to get information from people, if I'm trying to get information from them, putting them in a stressful situation in a box in a room, um, getting them so worked up that they either agree to what I'm telling them happened, just to get out of there, or I've convinced them. Like at some point, it's a mute point which of the two occurred. Um, and then, I mean, you see it a lot of the time, like where people do end up getting jammed up with charges because somebody said they saw them, but they weren't there. Or the whole idea of an alibi being, well, someone saw me across town and can swear up and down that I did, but did they see you? You know? Does that make
Well, that's
sense?
why in real life, most people, even innocent people, don't have alibis. Well, where were you this night between this time and this time? I was at home. Can you have anybody that can corroborate that? Well, kinda, but it's a significant other, and you're gonna be like, well, it's a significant other, we can't trust their word. Like,
My significant other is shady at best. No. It's just super, to me, there's a lot that can go on. I took a class in high school called street law, and a lot of it was like reviewing law case study, like different cases and going through and being like, why did this end up the way it did? What was used during the course of the trial to come to that conclusion? Like, how did the evidence go that way? It's just, for me, it's super interesting to think about. Just all the different ways that people don't realize information can be skewed. Um, Again, based on, for lack of a better term, like junk evidence, like junk science, junk collective thoughts. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. People are wild. Just don't do crime, guys. Chill out. Eat a moon pie. Drink a 7 Up. Quit murdering people. Sorry, I had to. I was like, this is the opportunity. It's time.
all I know is if
It's time.
somebody like Casey Anthony can get away with it, then anybody has a chance.
Again, I mean, the whole thing, so the United States judicial system is, the whole thing is like, innocent until proven guilty. Like, it's not whether or not they did it or not. In court, that's not even what is happening. The state, the government, they have to present a case that removes doubt, that shows beyond a shadow of doubt that their charges are legit and should hold up. Failing to do so results in a mistrial, results in a, we're just going to case dismiss, or like, hey, y'all will try again later because it's not happening now. Because that's their prerogative. Defense's job is to say, hey, did this happen? I don't know. Let's look at these other things that it could be that resulted in my client didn't do that, or could have not done, or maybe didn't do that. What about this other theory? Like, is that something that you could believe is a possibility? Because if you think it's a possibility, then you have to, like, the jury trial or judge trial. Like, the whole thing is set up in a way where it's supposed to benefit defendant, where the party that's leveling charges has to make a strong enough case where that is the only logical solution, is their charge.
Which I feel enough is valid because you don't want to charge innocent people.
It still happens a lot, and it's
Oh, I'm
super
sure.
fucked up.
But and then also guilty people get away with shit too, because I'm thinking specifically of one case where a guy sexually assaulted multiple
Oof.
women. There was hard evidence of him doing it, but the judge was like, I preyed on it. I'm like, dude, like there needs to be a hard separation between your personal feelings and the law.
I hate that. I hate that very much. I don't want to delve into that
I
though.
watched I watched a video because everybody has a right to a fair and speedy trial.
Yeah.
And this guy, like the judge was trying to coerce this defendant into giving up his rights for a fair and speedy trial, and his lawyer was having none of it. So it came to blows between the judge and the lawyer.
Wait,
Like
blows like
physical blows.
physical? Ah!
Yeah,
That's
they
not
stepped
funny.
outside the court and physically fought.
Was
I
this in
do
the
believe
United
that,
States?
yes, it was in the United States. I believe it was a Midwest
Everybody
somewhere.
should have been disbarred. Holy shit, that's so bad.
Yeah,
That's
because the lawyer was like, no, he's not giving up his rights.
oh
Yeah,
my
I do
god.
believe the judge did end up getting disbarred, but I was like, what in the heck?
I that oh my god. Send me that information later.
Look what you've
We should
done,
definitely
Yoden.
have
This is all
this
your fault.
we should have this conversation off air because I want to kind of circle back to the creepy stuff. But thank you. I loved all of that information.
I will get into in depth about anything. There is a game I feel like we should all play sometime called Don't Get Me Started. You give somebody a random thing, like a random subject, and you tell them to go and they have to rant about that thing.
Oh, easy. Done.
Easy.
We'll have to do that. But okay.
Anyway, back
Final
to
thoughts on the
spookies.
creepy dude with the trampoline park. I feel like we've done that. That's good. I think do you have another spooky story?
I do actually.
Yeah.
I believe I found this on r/no sleep. It was posted by user Lightning Nations, and it's called "So It Finally Happened. My Hometown Fixed Its Housing Crisis."
That's wholesome. I love that.
It won't be.
Okay.
The ones responsible for the winter massacre were those dreaded second homeowners. They swarmed our town like a plague of locusts, snatching up property left and right, then demanded we put up anti-homeless architecture and ban teenagers from the village green. Soon Main Street was
Fucked up.
clogged with Bentleys and luxury sedans. Oh yeah, don't get me started. As house prices doubled, then tripled, half the bars and restaurants closed their doors. Those jobs paid minimum wage, after all, and nobody's making that sort of cash could afford to live here anymore. The council called an emergency meeting. Unfortunately, the newcomers knew how to play that game. Hell, they invented that game. The first man who spoke said, "There's a tone of eat the rich we need to be conscious of here." A murmur of agreement went up. Another lady added, "I pay taxes and I'm sick to the front teeth of getting vilified." That drew in a round of applause. Did the mayor step up to fix things? Hell no.
No,
His
didn't.
son was a realtor. Those greedy bastards lined their pockets and watched the rot set in. Now, maybe things could have worked themselves out. Maybe there was a way to keep everyone happy and readdress the inequality. Maybe. But the newcomers were about to commit their fatal mistake. They all hated raw flesh Rita from the start.
What? Hold on.
Raw,
What is her name?
raw flesh Rita.
Raw fle. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
On the street corners, they say, "That statue's a damned eyesore. Can't we get rid of it?" Everyone could hear. Us locals were outraged. Raw flesh Rita had been there for centuries. She was deeply ingrained in the town's DNA. The vote to remove her failed, but now we had a serious problem. Residents who didn't respect our town's unique customs and traditions. When we told them about the upcoming ceremony, they sneered. "You want us to trudge up that giant hill at midnight and pay an offering to an ugly old statue? Get fucked." "We warned them," my dad said. "Can't say we didn't warn them." "But what happens if too many people refuse to pay the tithe?" I asked anxiously. My question hung in the air. The night of the ceremony was cloudless and bitter. Those of us who respected the old ways donned our robes and climbed the hill. hoods upturned to guard against the chill, and kneeled before Rita to say thanks for another blessed year, hoping she would accept our meager offering. She didn't. For the first time since the ceremonies began, a huge portion of the residents had refused to offer up a tribute, and Rita wasn't about to be cheated. Rubble cascaded from her joints as they slowly ground to life. She lifted one titanic foot off the platform, then another, quickly shedding a layer of rock, becoming a 30-foot figure made from exposed meat, muscle, and nerve endings. The skin of her body,
Ugh.
which had been entirely cleft from head to toe, wrapped around her left arm, looped her waist twice, and then trailed behind her like a gown. I just want to know, why would you have this gruesome statue in your town to begin with? Like,
Okay.
what kind of things are you praying to, my dude?
So, I mean, it sounds like they were doing the offering to stop Rita from living her best life, eating everybody or stomping them out. Okay. So,
Oh,
so don't think of it as an offering like bless us. It's an offering like you pay the NAB its money, or they get you.
right. Yeah, this is protection money.
Yeah, for sure. It's a racket. It's racketeering.
All right. With each step, she made the earth rumble. The vibrations traveled through my forehead and made my teeth rattle. They rattled my brain too. I became numb with terror. Nothing like this had ever happened before. Would Rita step on us? Tease us apart limb by limb? Every inch of my body screamed, "Run! Run, you fucking idiot!" But I didn't. None of us did. We simply kept our heads pressed against the cold dirt and hoped for the best. As it turned out, Rita only punished 2 of us, the mayor and his son. Both were born and raised here, but they sold us out, and she knew it. We watched in horror as she peeled
Get
their
'em.
faces like grapes.
Nom, nom, nom. Do it. Get them.
And
Sorry.
then, it's okay. And then, to our great relief, she descended the hill, crushing bushes and throwing down trees, the aftershock of her tremendous steps gradually easing. Rita soon brought the town to its knees. The hills echoed with the boom of her roars. The second homeowners' screams and shrieks were more of a murmur. Houses were smashed, their insides walls exposed. However, Rita's destruction appeared deliberate, targeted. She was like an expert surgeon cutting out a cancer. A frenzy of sport cars attempted to flee, but Rita made for the highway, leaving behind giant craters, and began tearing the vehicles apart. Those trapped inside tried to run, but they had no hope of escaping her wrath.
And another thing. And another.
After she returned to her podium and transformed back into stone, we descended the valley only to find the streets lined with corpses. Bodies hung upside down from streetlights, flat against park benches, and spread out over sidewalks. Every last store window, the same ones that had to close, glistened with fresh blood. And when the sun hit Main Street, before we could even begin the cleanup, there was a sickening scent of baking entrails. Questions were asked by the friends and families of those who lost their lives. Fortunately, we had things cleaned up long before anyone discovered what happened. The local sheriff came up with a clever story, and the federal authorities knew better than to ask too many questions about what goes on here. Life returned to normal. Was this winter massacre a disaster? Undoubtedly. A terrible tragedy? Most definitely. But I'll say this much, it certainly fixed the housing crisis.
Beautiful. That's. Oh. That was just. So, my first thought reading this, hearing this, is that is one strict ass HOA. Like, I don't care what you put on your lawn, but if you don't bring me a thing at the statue, if you're not doing it, like,
Right.
you will be evicted. Like, bodily. Oh my god.
Honestly, it kind of gave me the lottery vibes, where at first it sounds like a normal town, but then like it gets weirder and weirder until you're like, oh, this is not normal.
What do you mean what is that? Is that a story?
Yeah, let me look it up. I'm trying to remember who wrote it. It's old. By Shirley Jackson. It's a short story that was submitted to a newspaper. The New Yorker. It was submitted to the New Yorker in 1948. I'm surprised you've never heard of it. I thought
Yeah, I've
everybody
never
had
heard
to
of
read
it.
it in school. Basically, like it's talking about people meeting in a town square, the lottery's happening, everybody's so excited, kids are gathering up stones and stuff, and you think nothing of it until somebody's name is drawn, and they're like, no, please, not me, and they stone the person to death.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And like it's like even during like the whole
Why?
thing, it's just a tradition. It's just a tradition, and they even talk about how other towns nearby are no longer doing their tradition.
So like, why not move? That's crazy. That's
You should read it because it's actually really good. And when it was first published in the New Yorker, the editor got a lot of letters like, "Oh, this is gruesome. How would you dare let this thing get published?" And
because
but it's an interesting commentary on like, oh well, it's tradition, so we do it. Don't question it.
don't worry about it. Don't
Don't
worry
worry
about
about
it.
it. Who's gonna know?
Nobody's gonna know. Whew. Wow. Well, so raw flesh Rita,
Raw flesh Rita.
what an icon for sure. Uh, that was a definitely. I was not expecting that. That was interesting. I liked it. I liked it. I liked that. And that was on No Sleep. You said
Yes, I believe that was on No Sleep.
dope. I love that so much. Okay, I've got one more.
Okay.
If you're up for it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yes, Moscow. I'm reading a scary story.
Spook me, mom.
Spooky time. So this one was on No Sleep as well because I enjoy that subreddit. It's called "My Mom Has Been Acting Strange Ever Since I Got Back Home from a Party Recently. I think I'm in danger." Um, okay. Right now, I don't even know if this is the best course of action, but I feel that it's important to document what exactly has been happening at my house these past 2 weeks. I'm quite honestly terrified. However, I don't think I can go to the police or my friends with this information. Um, my mom and I live in a simple 2-story house, just the two of us. We always get along great and have spend a decent amount of time together. But ever since I got back from my friend's party, she hasn't been the same. I got home pretty late, maybe 2 or 3 a.m., pulled my car into the driveway, and entered the house as quietly as possible so as not to disturb my mom while she was sleeping. I quietly sneaked through the darkness of my house to the kitchen to get some water and snacks to take up to my room. When I entered the kitchen, I turned on the light, and to my surprise, my mother was already standing in the kitchen. She's looking out of the window over the sink into the dark expanse of our backyard. Startled as hell, I asked her, "Mom, why are you standing in the dark in the middle of the kitchen? What are you looking at? It's a bit creepy." I tried to make some humor out of the situation, expecting another humorous remark to be made back to me, but she didn't respond. From where I was standing, I was unable to see her face as she was looking out of the window. It was hard to get a read of the situation and what exactly was going on through her mind, so I couldn't speak up or change the subject. Well, the party was chill. I left kind of early since all the people I actually cared about left, I said as I grabbed what I needed from the fridge. Still a bit curious and worried about her, I asked, "Hey, are you okay?" She responds to me without taking her eyes off the yard. "Yes, okay." But the way she said it felt off. She said it in what seemed like an excited, cheery voice. Oh, I read that wrong then. "Yes, okay." Like she was accepting an invitation or a proposal from someone that really excited her. It felt completely inappropriate for the mood and setting we were in. It's hard to explain well. So, okay. Okay. Um, the next morning, I woke up to the smell of breakfast. This was normal, as she usually cooks breakfast for me on the weekends, since she's in no rush to get to work. I come downstairs and greet her with a good morning as I pour myself some juice in the fridge and take a seat. She responds with, "Good morning, sweetie." She seemed completely back to normal. I was relieved. I didn't know what happened last night. I didn't know if she was being emotional or if I was overanalyzing it, but I was ready to move past it. She turns around from the stove with an omelet and some potatoes and begins to plate my food. She asked me how the party was and if I slept well. I was going to mention that I already told her last night, but I decided to just leave it. Yeah, it was good. I left kind of early since all the people I cared about left. I replied with the same explanation as yesterday. I see. Well, I'm glad you didn't stay the whole night because you wouldn't have made it to breakfast today. It seemed like she didn't notice that I gave her the same answer as the previous night. After a bit of chatter, we sit down together and start to eat breakfast. As I cut my omelet and raise the fork to my mouth for the first bite, I noticed something strange about the piece I had cut. I looked closer and noticed something shiny within the slightly runny sides of the Hold up, your omelet should not be runny.
It should not be runny. I don't even like eggs, and
That's
your omelet should
that
definitely
should
not
not
be
be
runny.
runny. Like,
You can't if it's runny, how the heck are you folding it properly?
I just feel like that's wrong. That all of that's wrong. Um, ew. Exactly. Ew. Um, this is not. I'm sure that's not the scary part. I just had to say something because
Oh my god, the eggs were runny. It's horrifying.
That's the real spooky here. Okay. Um, I noticed something shiny within the slightly runny insides of the omelet. I took it out with my hand to see that it was a small sewing needle. Oh, small enough to where it would have been almost completely undetectable until it was too late. My heart started to beat fast as I asked her, "Mom, what is this?" I hold the needle up and show her what I found in my food. The food that the mom just made. This was inside of my food. After seeing it, her face looked concerned. She immediately apologized and stressed to me over and over again how she had no idea how it got inside of my omelet. "I'm so sorry. I would never knowingly do something to hurt you." She says this to me and gives me a big hug. "Don't eat that anymore. I'll make you a new one." No, absolutely not. Do not let her make you another omelet. She'll hide it better. That's what you get for saying. No, that's awful. That's awful.
How
Um,
dare you see the thing I was using to hurt you?
by that time, I had lost my appetite, but she was able to convince me that it truly was an accident. I honestly started feeling a little bad for even humoring the idea that she did it on purpose. Don't let her gaslight you, OP. Uh, it was just a strange occurrence that I had to wonder if there was any malicious intent behind it. Okay, why would a sewing needle be in your kitchen? Why would it be near a pan with an omelet? Why would it be in
Yeah,
your
why would it
omelet?
be anywhere near a
Those
place?
Nobody puts sewing needles like, "Oh, I better set this someplace safe. Let me stick it in an egg for safekeeping." That didn't happen. Like,
False.
French style omelet is usually runny. That is, I don't like that. They should fix that.
They should fix that.
I'm sure some people enjoy that. I don't. I don't want to do that. Um, let's see. The rest of our day continued normally. We laughed a lot, watched some of our favorite movies, gossiped, and ended our long day with our usual good night. I went to bed that night around 10:30 p.m. When I was a little kid, I was deathly afraid of the dark. So my mom bought two nightlights and put one in my room and one in the hallway. Well, I don't use the one in my bedroom anymore. We, for some reason, have always continued to leave the one in the hallway on. I guess we're just used to having it there and never had a reason to not have it there. That's really sweet. I've been cooking wrong. No, no, babe. Almost are not runny. Do not do it. Um,
Don't do this to her.
Zombies in the chat. Okay. What was I talking about? Nightlights. Very sweet of your mom to have a nightlight out for you. Later on in the night, I woke up thirsty and drank from the glass of water on my dresser next to my bed. In the process of doing so, I noticed something odd. Under my door, I could see the familiar glow of the nightlight. However, the glow was being partially covered by a shadow. I could tell that someone was standing right side of my door. This was unnerving enough to make me do absolutely nothing but stare at it for 1 to 2 minutes. The shadow never shifted, not even slightly. After some time, I called out towards the door, "Mom?" Without hearing any response, I see the shadow begin to move slowly and quietly back towards the direction of my mother's room. The next morning, I came downstairs to breakfast again, slightly tired. After the shadow incident, I was unable to sleep well for the rest of that night. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was constantly being watched. Immediately, I asked her, "Hey, Mom, were you outside of my room last night at like 3 a.m.?" Ignoring my question, she says to me, "Remember when you were younger and you would let me brush out the curls in your hair? We should try that again. Come on." She beckons me toward the kitchen sink that was already slightly filled with water. Okay. No. I noticed some conditioner and a brush on the counter as well. At this point, I was reluctant. After weighing the evidence of what has happened to me since the night of the party, I think anyone would be reluctant. Absolutely, OP. I am reluctant. Do not. I wouldn't do it. Um, Hemeth needle part. Oh, that's awful. Um, but somewhere in me, it felt ridiculous to imagine that my mom was suddenly an enemy. I figured that I was overreacting and decided to let her take care of my hair. I sat down and leaned back and put my hair over the sink. Looking up at her in the ceiling, she began to condition and detangle all of the knots I had in my curly hair. I had forgotten how good it felt to have my hair maintained by someone.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
That is a good feeling, though. I But
Okay,
like
as somebody
I don't like that how it's happening though. You came down for breakfast, the sink was already full. You had already had a situation, and your mom was creepy out and I don't know how in front of your bedroom and ignored your question. I don't know. It seems
look,
sketch.
I love my mom, but she used to just kinda, like, yank through my hair. Like, it caused me so much trauma that for years, I wouldn't let anybody even play with my hair. They'd wanna, like, touch my hair, and I'd freak out, be like, "Do not touch me."
See, when my mom had to detangle my hair, it was again a traumatizing experience. I have very curly hair, so it's like you have to do it a specific type of way, but none of my siblings have super curly hair like that. So it I can remember a couple of times. My mom was actually very good with hair, to be honest. There was a couple of times where it got really bad and I'd like try to reach back to be like, "Don't touch that." Like, when like instinctively when someone yanks your hair, you're like, "Oh, wait." And you're like reach back, getting bopped in the hand with a comb and you're like, "Okay, I'm just going to chill and let it happen." Like,
Mhm.
it's like I'll deal with it. After about 25 minutes of conditioning and talking about random stuff to pass the time, she tells me it's time to finish up. I felt my hair and was surprised with how smooth and hydrated it felt. She
Mm-mm.
began to rinse my hair with the spray nozzle of the sink. After rinsing out most of it, she tells me to stand up and put my head face first into the sink so she can
No.
finish the last bit. No, absolutely not. That is a trap. This is a trap. Um, we continued our so spray on the sink so she can finish rinsing the back of my head. We continued our conversation as she rinsed my hair. While I was in the middle of talking, I felt a sudden, hard grip dig deep into my hair, and suddenly my head was thrusted into the water that was filled in the sink. I immediately began to panic. I was being drowned. You would be surprised how absolutely weak you feel in a situation like this. Your mind's in a state of panic while someone has their entire weight over you, holding you down in the back of your head. My arms alternate between flailing around and trying to push myself up using the edges of the counter. After what felt like ages, the grip released and I instantly raised my head from the water, coughing and trying to catch my breath. I turned around viciously and stared at my mother. "The fuck are you doing?" I yell while trying to regain my balance. She begins to laugh and point at me with one hand while the other slaps her knee over and over. I got you! You should have seen your face! What? 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 Okay, that's alright. I stared in disbelief. My unhappy reaction was obvious enough for her to stop laughing and look at me with a concerned look. Oh, don't be such a bad sport. It was just a joke. She walked towards me in a hugging motion. I maneuvered myself away from her, backing up cautiously with the same cautious look on my face. I was scared of her. That was not my mother's kind of humor. My mother would never take a joke that far, not far enough to risk hurting me. This is the point that I knew something was wrong with her. Here's the thing, absolutely, this is a good point to be like, yeah, this is messed up. Can't believe this is a thing. You can't be my mom. But like also there was a needle in your eggs like yesterday, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like this person is legitimately trying to kill you or at least torture you.
I wouldn't like that's very sweet of your mom to offer to condition your hair. But so close to the needle incident, I would not. No. That's a trap. I don't like that. Whew, I am so sorry for anyone if that triggered them. Whew. But from this point on, I was distant. I would only talk to her when necessary. I started skipping breakfast and dinner while staying in my room alone. Um, the nights where she would stand outside of my door continued. It happened every night around the same time. Every night, the shadow under my door would disappear after some time. I was on edge a lot more. I started leaving the house more often and staying at a friend's house where I could, as long as it meant that I could stop spending so much time in the same house with her. She stopped going to work. Instead, I would always see her out in the backyard during the day doing random things like digging holes, stabbing the grass
Mm-mm.
with a trowel, or standing on the grass talking to herself, though I was never able to hear what she was saying. What?
Your mom's possessed or something, man. Like she wants you dead. She wants to steal your youth.
Just gonna stab the ground, dig some holes in my backyard. Did she call the dig number before she did this? I know that shouldn't be the thought I have, but like, there's a number you're supposed to call when you dig to make sure there's not like important shit where you're gonna dig.
Right. That's okay.
Like,
My first thought was, my psycho mom keeps digging little holes in
holes
my
in my
backyard.
backyard.
Exactly.
Oh man. Oh, this is something's wrong with us and it's okay. Um, let's see. But what happened to me last night was something I'll never forget. 811's the dig number. Thank you. Before going to sleep, I remember praying that I would be able to sleep through the night peacefully without waking up, as seeing her shadow from underneath the door always makes me deeply uncomfortable and scared. To my misfortune, when my eyes opened to the darkness of my room, I realized that I had woken up in the middle of the night again. I slowly bring my eyes to the bottom of my door and see that she's standing there, standing on the other side of my door silently. I lay my head back down and try extremely hard to sleep, but given the conditions, there was no chance that I was even going close to sleeping again. But this time, I heard a knock on my door. 3 soft, spaced out knocks. After that, it was dead silence. I laid there, deeply terrified. Why was she knocking this time? Why now after all this time? My mind was racing. Then a realization entered my mind that frightened me to the point where I was barely able to move. My door doesn't have a lock. Since I was a kid, it never had a lock. The only barrier left that prevented against access to me didn't even have a lock. And then I heard the knocks again. I immediately hid my head under my covers, returning to the child instincts that kept me safe from the monsters all those years ago. However, this time I knew this would not keep me safe. I heard the door slowly creep open. My eyes closed tightly shut as I hid under the blankets. I listened for the footsteps entering my room, preparing myself for the worst. But there were no footsteps. Did she give up? Did she open the door and just leave? Is she just still standing there? All these thoughts crossed my mind, not knowing the answer was the only scaring me even more. I laid under the blankets and listened. I listened for what felt like 5 minutes. The silence was immense. I had no idea what was happening or what my fate was. I continued to listen. Silence. And then I heard a flurry of pitter patter. It was insanely, inhumanly fast, and I could only hear the sound of contact being made with the floor, and then the walls, and then the ceiling. It was all around my room. My heart sank. My eyes were closed so tightly shut that it physically hurt. Is she on all fours? Is she just running that fast on her feet? How is she going around my room like that? Is this where I die? These were the last thoughts I had before I lost consciousness. I don't know if it was induced by a panic attack or stress or what, but I do know that I'm mostly glad it took me out of that moment. I woke up the next morning to everything in my room knocked over in disarray. It was nowhere in sight. Did it leave? Is it in the house still? I still do not know. After finally getting the courage to leave my bed, I was able to get a chair and prop it against my door as I typed this. I don't know who I should talk to or where I should go, but I do know that I will not be staying another night here. I haven't heard any noise from within the house since waking up. I'm posting this here because I have a feeling that this is the only place where people will believe what is happening to me. I'm going to take the chair off of the door and make a run for it. I still haven't heard anything outside of the door, so the coast seems clear. I will make it out of here and I will never come back. And that's how the story ends.
Hmm. Okay.
Um so this story was on No Sleep. It was posted 2 days ago. Uh by Kingston. It's spelled Keyngton. Um, I I liked it. It was a bit of a spookums. Definitely a spooky tale for sure. Um, I I have a really good relationship with my mom. I love my mom. Um, if my mom ever tried to feed me a sewing needle, I absolutely would not eat her food for like a year. I feel like
And that's fair and reasonable.
I the pitter pattering, the pitter pattering.
Yeah, see, okay, as and here I go sounding like a pretentious bitch again, but
As in my professional opinion,
exactly. It feels like there was a lot of buildup and not and like I passed out and then I'm fine. Like, okay, so she actively tried to hurt you before, and then she's got you to a point where you're vulnerable and nothing happens. Also, why was she digging holes in the backyard?
exactly. Like I understand stabbing the grass helps facilitate an easier dig in the hole. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Irrigation's important.
Who was
I don't
she
know. It
talking to?
feels like there was a bit of a buildup, and then the conclusion was a bit.
I'm running because my room
Yeah,
was
and I
trashed.
understand the running, but if you felt so unsafe, why did you ever come back? Because it said, like, she would stay at friends' houses. Like, why would you ever come back if you could stay at friends' houses? And if you did come back, why would you come back alone?
And the moms just stopped working. Like just was like, nah, I'm here now.
Right.
I don't know. It seems there's a lot going on that OP either omitted or didn't know. Um, I don't even know. That's just it's wild to me. And again, maybe it's because I try my very hardest to be like not in situations like my self-preservation is like so well honed that I'm immediately like nope, not doing that. Good day, and I'm out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Well,
maybe that's
it
why I'm looking at it so critically like why the fuck why? But
I feel like the story was set up well enough that it could have been like she was like the mom was trying to do some ritual to steal the daughter's youth. Like that's why she wanted to brush the
or a
hair, be like, "Oh, it's so
vampire. Jotun put a
pretty."
vampire in
I saw that. If she's like, the hair's so pretty, I can't wait for it to be mine, and like the stat like eating something.
Don't,
Yeah, right. But
like
that'd be so creepy. And like she's trying to steal her maybe like she was gonna do a ritual where she stole her daughter's body and then dumped her old body with the daughter's consciousness into it into the a backyard hole. You
that would have been
know?
so fucked.
Right. And it would have been spooky. I just feel like, oh, suddenly my mom's not even a human. And I don't know. It felt suddenly turning left.
There
And
was a lot going on there, absolutely. I still a bit spooky, still a bit spooky, but there was definitely a lot going on. I don't I don't know. It definitely had way more potential to become even spookier and
yes, like,
maybe
I
fill
think
in
that's what
those
it was.
holes. Yeah. I mean,
So if
maybe
I was rating this on Grave Reviews, I would give it a crypt, which is halfway up the list. It wasn't so bad that I'd just give it a humble grave, but it's no better. It doesn't deserve a tomb or a mausoleum.
I absolutely love that rating system. For you do the book review, the little like I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. That's whew. And I'm just like, why would you continue to put yourself in that
Exactly.
situation?
Like,
Like
I know
I
it's your
would
mom and you love her, but if she's actively trying to hurt you.
an OP established within like the first paragraph, like I have a vehicle and am able to just be out of here, like gone, like just be gone, to like go, like escape, run. That's neither here nor there. That's where I'm at. It was a spooky one. I enjoyed it. There definitely was some room to improve, and who knows? Maybe a part two will come out that fills in some of the gap where we get to see more of what happens. It'll definitely be interesting to see. I do have it saved on my account, so I can like take a look and see if anything else populates from that. But very exciting stuff. So we have, I don't know if you realize this, brother. We've been
Yeah,
at this
we've
for like
been
3 hours.
3 whole hours. Like, you were like, "Oh, if we make it to 5." I'm like, You think that's gonna be a problem for us?"
This is true. I wouldn't even.
I would have even settled for it being her mom's shadow messing with the door. That would have been interesting, like, if the mom wasn't even aware.
Oh, shadow people. Oof, oof.
Her
That's
mom
a
should have
whole.
taken her to the, trampoline place.
Yeah, he just needs. Listen, just take the shadow person to this sketch ass trampoline place. Uh, it's called Dark Sky Trampolines or something. Just give her a red bracelet, send her on her way.
It'll
Oh,
all be fine.
so those were all the stories that I had prepped for today. Did you have any other ones?
Nope, I am tapped out.
Okay, well, this is the fun part where we get to talk about you, about exciting projects you have going on. So that way anyone who's watching now or later when they're watching the VOD, they can make sure to check out your super cool content. I know you have the YouTube channel Happily Morose where um you and Al do the Graves reviews where you review book review stuff and you do the uh are they real segments. What other
Uh,
stuff do you got going on?
yes, actually, I am gonna be uploading a video soon, hopefully. I just have to get my notes compiled and actually so I'm hoping by next Saturday, I will have a new video uploaded for Grave Reviews where I review the movie I Trapped the Devil. So that
Ooh.
should oh, yeah, it was actually really interesting. It is an indie film, and I like indie films because they're either really bad or really good, and a lot of times when they're good, like, they're amazingly good, and not a lot of people review them, which is part of it. The basic premise is a man believes that he has the devil trapped in his basement, and his brother shows up, and he's certain that it's just a normal person. So it's the struggle of, did he really trap the devil, or did he just trap some poor guy down in his basement? And there's like that back and forth kind of thing, and then like a discussion of what is evil. So it's really interesting, and I can't wait to go over it and share my thoughts about the whole thing. I know we're also looking to do a Are They Real one where we talk about nopes and things of that nature.
Yeah, I know the Are They Real segment, I know I'm super pumped. Just I enjoy cryptids and creepy boys. And I know you guys have, I think the first one is already out for that.
Yes, our first one was about Mothman,
Mothman.
which, if anybody has any sort of accuracy, it is actually Birdman. But we discussed that whole thing in the video, so if you want more information about that, I would highly suggest going and watching it. It's very good. If you don't mind, I will actually post a link
Oh,
to
I'm
the
actually doing that
channel.
right now.
Oh, you're doing that right now? See?
I'm
Same
typing
brain
out a
cell.
cute little message, and apparently don't know how to spell today. Good morning.
I'm also, it's not an active thing coming out, but I have toyed with the idea of Al and I and possibly friends doing some like gaming, either streams or videos where we just game and calling it friendly fire. Just because I feel like everybody gets a kick of, wow, when we're all gaming together and the rage is building, and it's just
Like that time we played 7 days, and I shot my husband in the face.
yes, you shot him in the face, he shot you in the face.
In my
He
defense, he
accidentally
planted trees next to my barbed wire that they sprouted, and it threw me into barbed wire. So I felt like I was justified.
You accidentally shot Kyle, so Kyle set, oh no, you accidentally set him on fire. So he
Yeah.
shot you. You tried to throw fire onto the zombies and you fell on top of the zombies. It's been an ordeal.
Listen, it's an experience for sure.
But that's definitely a project that I would like to take on. I'm not sure about streaming it or doing it as a YouTube series. So if people want to give me opinions about that, I am more than open to them. You can catch me at the Shadow Guild, or you can also visit my Twitter, which I can also do a link. Just a second. I should be more prepared. Haha. Um, at I know it's not like on brand, but at Hyperpengy is my personal Twitter if you want to do any suggestions, or at Happily Morose if you want any suggestions for the YouTube channel or Al or I personally. So yeah, those are things I'm excited about for right this second.
I know we're doing like a Shadow Guild collaborative on YouTube playing Gloomhaven, which I've actually been really excited. This has been a very exciting experience. I know it's you, Zombie, myself, and Lord Shadow, who's in the chat right now. I think he actually just uploaded the latest of
He
those
he did this
today.
morning.
I haven't had a chance to watch it, but
I
as I was
started
there for
watching
it,
it.
I know
I
I'm pretty
forgot.
sure. Is this the one I think it is?
Yes, it
Yes.
is. DPR, indeed. Yes, Shadow. And it's amazing. I made Kyle watch the beginning of it. I was like, look, we're so funny. I'm excited to do more recordings with all of you about that as well. I've missed the last recording, so I'm excited to get back on that train.
Well, I'm also, just for in case everybody wants it, I'm throwing the link to the first in the playlist into the chat. I don't know if there's a short link or anyone has that. We should coordinate that. Why didn't I coordinate that before? Because I like to fly by the seat of my pants. That's why. But yeah, I'm excited to get back to recording again. Definitely excited for that. So outside of the happily morose projects that we're talking about, and that ongoing Gloom Crew. Do you have any other stuff going on, or any things that we should be looking out for specifically in 2022?
I don't have any specific plans right at this moment for 2022. Um, if possible, I would like to start up another D&D campaign, but I know there's a lot of D&D campaign talks in the works at the moment, and I know unfortunately my work schedule is going to change, so that's a possibility that that's not going to happen. Um, no, other than Happily Morose and the possibility of a stream or YouTube channel of gaming, I think that's all the plans I have at the moment.
Awesome. Well, everybody in the chat, everybody watching this on VOD, you heard it here first. Keep an eye out on Happily Morose, their YouTube channel. Check out their Twitter.
Tweeter.
Uh, I call it the tweeter, and I know it's because I am being funny, but also I forget that that's not what it's called. Sorry. But yeah, keep an eye out because new content ready to drop soon, in the works, gonna drop eventually. You never know what sort of stuff. If you do go on their YouTube videos, I highly recommend just leaving a cheeky comment because I love doing that anyways. I think I wrote on a couple of yours. I'm bad like that.
I believe you've written a comment on every single video.
I have. I also on one of the Gloomhaven videos posted I commented hashtag crag literacy, which if you watch that video you'll get it. You should check it out. Uh that's all I really have on this today. I'm really excited that you carved out some time for me. Always appreciate our wonderful conversations. Definitely want to get with you on the back end about the random legal stuff that somehow sprouted up as a side tangent to a side tangent just because I enjoy knowledge stuff.
Honestly, I feel like our conversations are just like if somebody was just driving, like, I'm going to stay on this main road for a while. Ooh, an interesting side road. Go off on that road. Where does this road go? And then like, they just end up somewhere completely different. Not sure how they got there.
That is exactly what happens every time. Jotun actually was already planning on checking if Blast Hub was available to raid because I saw on his schedule that he was set to start at 5. Looks like we're all on the same page on that brain. Um, as Zombified Potato just said, my favorite catchphrase, get in the comments, do it. Get in the comments. Get in the
Yo,
comments of
Tim,
all these videos.
look, you and I can go stubborn to stubborn on hills that we're willing to die on. So if you ever need
Absolutely.
to like even privately get into a conversation where we can all just go to blows, like well,
I'm
let's go for it.
not like that one judge, but like
Yeah, no.
that shit's crazy.
No, okay. I threaten to physically fight people way more than I should.
Like, fight me. I swear I'll do it. No, but oh hey mom. Mom's in the
Hi,
chat.
mom.
Love you too. Okay. Loki started as me dying on a hill. Jotun, it's okay. Everyone is able to. I love having discussions with people when we have information to go off of and just kind of like spitballing around because that is how people come to great conversations. That's when people talk about different ideas and concepts, the clash of those things. I always enjoy those types of conversations. That's just me. But I also think everyone else does, or if they don't, they do now. Because it's my story and I can tell it how I like. With that in mind, though, we're looking to wrap up. Thank you again, brother. Appreciate you visiting. I know that you will be back visiting with us. We'll be doing a special for Spooky Saturday. Uh,
Yes, and I'm very excited about that one too. I've been doing my research. I believe we're meeting March 12th,
March 12th. Yes,
and
it'll
we will
be
be joined by Al, my happily morose co-host, and the third member of the Bosom Betties.
absolutely Bosom Baddies. Uh, Buddy Baz Baddy. Well, blah 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 blah. Cannot talk. Sorry. Someone will please edit that out. Um, mental note. No. Yeah, March 12th we'll be doing our Bosom Baddie Spooky Saturday Spectacular, where it will be structured a bit different than our normal story times, but it'll be just amazing and I'm excited for it. Um Again, if you're not following Happily Morose, absolutely do so. Next week I will not have anything scheduled due to family. Sorry.
Family.
Family.
Olive Garden.
But the following week, February 12th, um, our good friend Jotun will be back on. We're going to have some spooky stories and wonderful conversations. I think Thrall Owen will also be joining us for that. Did I just assume that? I feel like I heard that. That might be a thing. Because family, Rev's car. Exactly. Uh, it's exactly what was happening here. But yeah. So really appreciated for everybody stopping by. Anyone who's looking for both of them. Both of them will be here on the next video. But again, really happy we're all here. I know personally I am gonna sleep like a baby bear tonight, and I hope you guys have a spooky time. Uh, that being said, let's. I don't know how to do a raid because I'm bad at things. I feel like it is this. Meow
Did
meow
you always
meow.
have your potato do it?
Yes, I
Your potato
always I
specifically.
my specific potato. Yes. Hold on. There's no H in Blast Hub.
Ab.
Episode 1. He was such a trooper about it. But I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody that stayed and talked with us.
Yes, yes, we had a wonderful time. I always have a great time with you, brother. And always have a great time with our wonderful chat. So be sure again to give Happily Morose a check out. Check out the Gloom Crew videos. And have a spooky time, guys. We'll see you back on the 12th, and looking forward to it. Say bye, brother.